Welcome in. It is week 5 of the NFL season, and it is time for Thursday Night Football. We're about an hour early, but it's okay. We're going to get a few reps in of some of these game previews before we get into it. Super excited about Thursday Night Football this week, actually. This should be a good one. Between the Rams and the Seahawks here. So, huge NFC West divisional battle tonight. We know how brutal the NFC West is going to be, how hard it's going to be to win in that division. It should be a fun game tonight. We'll go through that game specifically first so that we can get into it. We absolutely nailed that game last week for Jacksonville and Cincinnati. We might not have nailed the final outcome, but we talked about what Jacksonville needed to do to be able to get through it and to come out with a W on the backside. And they went exactly to our game plan in the first half. And as soon as they started going to our game plan in the first half, as soon as it started to happen, like we saw it. We talked about it on the show. Like, hey, you need to. Let me get this. Yeah. So we talked about it on the show last week that the Jags going into last night's Thursday Night Football game. Take some pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. Give him some easy passes. Don't force him. Don't try to get him to force the ball down the field. Get him comfortable. Get him in a little bit of a rhythm. Get James Robinson going. This is a defense that you can run on. If you do that, maybe you get lucky, get a turnover, and then you've got a shot at winning this game. And that's exactly what they did for the first half. And then for whatever reason, they decided that plan shouldn't work anymore. And they went completely away from it. Back to what they were doing for the first 3 weeks in the second half, and they got the same result that they got in the first 3 weeks. Not able to move the ball, wasn't efficient, wasn't effective. So, so I'm feeling like we kind of called that game last week. The Bengals ended up having a couple problems to get back into it, had a couple opportunities to really kind of pull away, never did. Ended up having to kick a last-second field goal. So, Thursday night games have been pretty good for us. Gabe, welcome back, welcome in. Aren't the Rams normally good versus the Seahawks? I think both of these teams are typically good against each other. I think these NFC West matchups end up being absolute bangers for games because they all really don't like each other and they all know each other really, really well. So even whenever there's not a particularly great team in the division, they usually end up winning at least 1 or 2 of their division games out of the 6 that they have all year, right? So fascinated by this particular game. Going to be a really fun game tonight. We'll talk about the Rams. We'll talk about the Seahawks. We'll probably get into that one in a little bit more in depth because we'll talk about it more like we do our pregame show on Sunday. Which so for anybody that isn't in here, normally on Sundays we do a 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern pregame show. This Sunday. Who is it? Dolphins? Who has the early game? No, it's not Dolphins. Who has the early game? It is Jets Falcons in London. So that game is actually going to kick off at 9:30 Eastern time on Sunday morning. So if you're a West Coast person, you're going to get football at 6:30 a.m. Hope you have some beer with your coffee, pour a little bit of whiskey in it for me, a little bit of bourbon for you. Get up, get going. We will start at probably 9:50. I think I'm going to get on it. You know what, man, 4 hours is a lot. We can do it though. You know what? I'll be on at 9:15 on Sunday. We'll call it now. 9:15 is the time to go live. And we will be spot on that particular time. I will have just gallons of coffee ready. To be able to power through the morning. We'll talk football for 4 hours. We'll sidecast that Jets and Falcons game. It's not the most exciting game, so it's actually kind of perfect for us to be able to kind of put over on the side and not have to worry about it. But yeah, it's going to be that's an interesting game to me because they're both bad teams, and I feel like it's going to be a very back and forth game because neither one of those teams are very, very good. Are you going to drink your coffee with UK starting QB? Yes, absolutely. My hope is that we're also celebrating a Kentucky win over LSU on Monday or on Sunday morning as well. But I'm not particularly getting my hopes up for that. We'll take our win over Florida, and we just got to play it week by week, man. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, really good week of games this week. Going through them a little bit today. Was able to watch a little bit more film today, which was a lot of fun. Oh, he puts mayo in his coffee? That's where that joke came from? Oh my goodness. I heard about people talking about putting mayo in their coffee, and I just dismissed it because that's disgusting to even think about. Now look, I guess I should say this. I thought putting butter in your coffee was gross, and then I tried it and I'm like, actually it's not bad, right? Like it's a little bit of oily and fat in your coffee. I tried it for a bit, right? Like that's was it the keto or the paleo or whatever it might be. Um but I thought that was kind of gross. Some people think putting bourbon in your coffee is gross, and I think those people are crazy too. So to each their own, man. Whatever makes you happy. If mayo, I just ooh, I don't know how you put mayo in your coffee. Okay, well, if hey, listen, if he keeps winning games, he can put whatever he wants in his coffee. That doesn't get him suspended. We'll put it like that. Aren't UK favorites in that game? They are actually. So I can't tell you the last time that Kentucky was favored over LSU. That's crazy to me. So it's really nice, really cool that they are, but I also don't want them to get it in their heads. I want them to be confident, walk into that game, say, "Hey, like we have a shot to win this. We should win this. This is going to be good," and then be smart about how they play. But I don't know, man. We'll see. Like I said, I don't follow a ton of college football. SEC is my conference simply because of Kentucky, but well, because they're the best conference overall. But definitely because of Kentucky too. So. But yeah, so that's gonna be a fun game. I'll probably watch a little bit of film on the couch. What time is that game, Gabe? Let's see, Kentucky LSU. Sorry, we're getting off on the wrong foot here, guys. Kentucky LSU. Let's see what we got. Kentucky LSU Eastern time, 7:30 p.m. Yeah, I'll probably sit on the couch, watch that game. The last couple of weeks, it's kind of what we've done is watch some college football at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I have some Sunday game film up as well. It's actually kind of a nice way to spend it a Sunday night. It's not the most exciting, most thrilling, but it works, and it's a lot of fun. Get to spend some time with the wife. So, with that being said, let's take a look here. You know what? Let's just jump into it. Let's just jump straight into this because we always end up running over. I always have more to say. I will say that my notes this week are a little more sparse, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. It could be a good thing because hopefully we'll get through games faster. Bad thing because it means I'm probably going to ramble a little bit more. So maybe it ends up being worse. But let's do this. Let's hop into here. And, ooh, that was weird. Okay, might have to fix that later. So, let's talk about tonight's game. Let's just start off with Thursday night football. We are going to talk about this one for a little bit more than probably some of the other games because this isn't the matchup show typically. This is the preview show. We just kind of hit on the big things that are going to happen for each game, some things to look for, some things to call out, some things to watch as they progress throughout the week. But for Rams and Seattle, so let's do this. So for Rams and Seahawks, so as of right now, the Seahawks the Rams are 2.5 point favorites. Total is 54.5, which means Vegas says that this is going to be a big time scoring game. I watching the Rams defense last week against Arizona. I watched them in depth today, and the one thing I've noticed is Jalen Ramsey is not tracking wide receivers all over the place. Like he's moving around, but he's not necessarily following one guy. The Rams defense, they play a variety of defense in terms of they'll play two high safeties, they'll play single high, they'll mix up zone and man a good amount. They're not afraid to play anything. They're not afraid to blitz. They're not afraid to play soft. They'll just mix it up here and there. And they seem to have a good feel for how it goes. Last week they just ran into Kyler Murray, who for whatever reason he's just become dynamite in the pocket, as well as out of the pocket, and that's really, really hard to defend. And here's the thing: so last week, the D line for the Rams, they did versus Kyler exactly what we talked about the Denver O line doing versus Lamar, which they had to decide how they had to come into this game with a game plan against how they wanted to play Lamar or play Kyler up front, right? So they had to come in and say, all right, we're going to get after him and we're going to try to collapse the pocket on him and keeping him in, or we need to be soft about what we need to do up front so that he doesn't take off and end up running for 40 yards or roll out of the pocket and is able to hit a guy 40 yards downfield who's wide open because he was able to roll out of the pocket. So the Rams had to decide how they do that, and they actually decided to do exactly what the Broncos did. They decided that they weren't going to press their luck and they were going to pull back on that pass rush. There were times that on the backside, so on Kyler's blind side, the guys on the line of scrimmage. So if you're thinking about Kyler's backside, that's typically Aaron Donald and Terrell Lewis mostly. They would stand there with their eyes up and arms stretched out, but not actually rush. The Rams somehow decided it was better not to rush Aaron Donald at times than it was to rush him for fear of Kyler Murray running. So I that just blows my mind, right? So the left defensive end or edge player, well, right over the left tackle, right? So when I say left, I'm thinking from the offensive point of view. So the guy on the edge, whether that's the D end or linebacker, whoever that might be, and Aaron Donald, both of those guys didn't pass rush on every play. They kind of just stood there. Like literally there was one specific play where both of them just kind of go and stand there and hold their guy. And they're just kind of peeking around him, looking to see what Kyler does. And then I think that might have actually been the play where Kyler then escapes to their side, and then they try to come up and tackle him, and then Kyler still runs around him. So it was not an effective game plan. Not rushing Aaron Donald is never a good game plan. I just don't understand how they came to that conclusion and would call plays like that. And by doing that, Kyler Murray just threw all over them. And then he still ran for big gains as well. Like, I don't know whose idea it was to not rush Aaron Donald, but I feel like they didn't think of that one all the way through, right? I didn't get it. Like, I get it because I was thinking during the game, how would I defend Kyler Murray? And the idea is that you have to blitz his front side. And we talked about this in a previous show. Quarterbacks like Lamar and Kyler are very, very good whenever they roll to the right because it's easier and more natural of a body position for them to throw when they're running to the right. If they're running to the right, they're coming over here and then they're throwing like that, right? They can throw with their body. If they're running to the left, they're coming over here and then they got to twist their body against where it wants to naturally go for them to then be able to throw. That makes it really, really hard for them to do that. So you always want guys moving left, right? Like there's very few guys that throw really, really well when moving to their left. Russ Wilson is actually one of those guys playing tonight. So they decided that they were going to keep those backside guys from rushing. And I thought that that's a good idea, but never in my mind did I consider that Aaron Donald would be one of those guys not actually rushing and just playing contain. That's not if that's happening, I'm moving Aaron Donald to the right side, having him rush from that side, and then having two other guys over there to kind of hold the contain in. Like I think it was a good thought. I think it was poor planning and execution is what it was. And I get it. If it's Terrell Lewis or Ashawn Robinson or even Leonard Floyd that you're doing that with, but voluntarily taking Donald out of the play isn't a good idea ever. Like, just let him be disruptive and do what he does. So I was really fascinated to see that. I don't think that's something that they deploy tonight. I think they're going to get after Russ Wilson, but that was something that I wanted to call out tonight because I thought that was interesting. Let's see. By the way, you might feel old watching Tampa Bay Super Bowl quarterback Matt. be the LSU. Oh, got it. So he's Brad Johnson's son, huh? Interesting. Well, we'll see how that goes. Mahomes is good at going to his left. Mahomes is good going in any direction. Like he's good throwing like backpedaling, which very few people can do. Donald plays three tech on both sides. You're right, he does. I would have made it a conscious effort that if you're not going to rush the three tech, or the person that's in the C gap on the edge, if you're not going to rush those, they better not be Aaron Donald. Or you better have Aaron Donald rushing from that side with somebody to backfill, right? If you're going to rush three up front and then keep a guy on the backside to keep Kyler from rolling out that way, and kind of keep contained when that pressure from the front side gets there. Like, to me, I would have overwhelmed that front side. It would have been Aaron Donald in the three tech on the right, put Leonard Floyd over there on the right as well, over the right tackle. Have those guys just hammer that right side, bring blitzes, and then leave probably whoever my fastest linebacker is and best tackler, leave him on the backside as kind of like a spy. He's really playing zone, but keeps his eye on the quarterback. Like, that's probably where I would have went up front and how I would have played that. Rams didn't come in with a good defensive game plan. It really didn't look like they had thought that one all the way through. So that to me was one of the big things is Kyler still had 6 for 40, I think. Still ran 6 times for 40 yards, 39 yards, something like that. Still had a big game passing. Dude can just sling it all over the yard and is a blast to watch. It's just I'm blown away by what they did last week. And the Rams defense is completely different. Like, they're very multiple. They'll do a bunch of different things. Seattle is on the opposite end of the spectrum. They play that cover 3 single high safety on defense. They stick to that. The problem is their linebackers aren't very good, which is an issue because it creates space in the middle of the field, which the Rams love to use. The Rams are great at running those crossers across each other, and they did it probably half a dozen times against the Cardinals, and they're going to use up that interior space. They'll use it with slot receivers. They'll use it with guys like Kupp and Woods. They'll use it with their running back. Darrell Henderson will probably get a couple targets in the middle of the field. Like, they'll love to run that angle route right at the linebackers and try to get them across the face of the middle backer. So I think there's going to be a lot of room for this Rams pass game. And then on offense for the Seahawks, their preference is to run the ball. Like, they're going to try to run the ball as much as they possibly can. And then if not possible, they're not necessarily stuck to it this year. I'm surprised by that. Like, I thought that this was going to be something that they fully committed to. But this year they've really not been too stuck to the run, which is good to see. I think DK Metcalf could be a potential, like, he could be potentially be the guy tonight in some important situations when they want to take those deep shots. I mean, that's what he's built for. I think they can move him around. I don't think Jalen Ramsey's probably going to follow him around. Lockett, as long as I haven't seen inactives yet, we should be there. Let's check out inactives real quick, just to make sure. Gabe Kupp out of the backfield too. Yes, yep. That was some things that we saw last week as well. No Carson tonight. Seattle OC came from the Rams. Yeah, so they know what they want to do. And the Rams like to run. The Rams like to think of it as use the pass to set up the run, but they don't have to be very aggressive in doing so. Which was what was interesting from last week. I think last week was the anomaly for the Rams. I think they'll find much more space to play tonight on offense, especially in the middle of the field. I would expect the defense to play much, much better than they did last week. Stafford didn't have a good game last week. The Cards played tight man coverage. They took away Kupp a lot. Like, they focused on taking away Kupp on certain plays, and that was a great idea because Stafford had been favoring him. Stafford pushed the ball downfield instead of taking some wide open give-me's underneath. there were some running backs and tight ends that were 10 yards downfield that didn't have guys within 10 yards of them, and Stafford just completely overlooked them or chose to throw past them for whatever reason. He did not want to take, and there was a couple third downs that happened on too. And it ended up costing him because those were early in the game. And if he hits those drives continue. And it was one of the worst games that I've seen. It was the worst game that I've seen Stafford play this year. It's hard to compare him to what he did in Detroit because that's not necessarily the same. It's not the same offense, not the same players around him. He's going to have bad games whenever he's got bad coaching, bad team, bad talent, all of that stuff around him. But in LA, like he's got to come up with those, especially against intra-division opponents where you're going to be battling all season long for him. So I think that's an anomaly. I mean, Stafford, he didn't just make bad decisions. Like he was bad in terms of accuracy. Like he was a little bit off in timing, and then he was adding onto it by pushing the ball down the field so much, and that's a bad combo. And the Cards defense is fast. We talked about it last week. They're really fast, and the Cards absolutely took advantage of it and created, I think, 3 turnovers from Stafford in the game, and that's what made the difference in the game. Those 3 turnovers were huge. And Kyler Murray not throwing away the ball is great too. So Stafford shouldn't have those issues tonight. The Rams, they get the ball out quickly for the most part. They leave extra guys into block and move Stafford around from time to time to buy him some extra time. So I don't anticipate them having any problems against Seattle's front, which isn't very scary. The Rams O-line played well most of this year. They played phenomenally against the Bucs, I thought, and the Rams will use a ton of lateral motion, both pre-snap and then again those crossing receivers to exploit some matchups. I think on those linebackers and in the middle of the field. I think for Seattle to win this, I think Russ has to come out and just play just absolutely bonkers. He's got to play out of his mind. He's going to have to carry them. I think Carson's out, as Gabe said, and Russ is really the only way that I think Seattle keeps it close tonight. Big plays either way. Obviously, they're a critical factor in every game, but the Rams defense is built to create those big plays and to push the ball down the field. Curious to see if Mr. Stafford is more willing to take those underneath throws and those open throws and take those 10-yard gains instead of trying to get 30 and 40 all at once. But I'm thinking the Rams should be just fine. I think Seattle is still a good team. Don't get me wrong. I think last week was more the outlier for the Rams than anything else. So tonight I'm going to take the Rams -2 in Seattle. Here's the thing. Every time I'm like, ooh, that's a lock, or not really scared of that one, it ends up not being a great pick. So I'll take the Rams. Oh, it's actually 2.5 now, I believe, right? Yeah. So it's 2.5 now. So I'm going to take the Rams 2.5 in Seattle. The 2 would have been nice, but I still think that Rams probably have a shot at winning this by field goal or more, and potentially even making this hopefully making this well, I kind of want it to be a good game. I feel like this should be a good game. So I have Rams -1.5. Only concern is the Thursday night turnaway night. So here's the thing, right? So for me, the way that the principle that I've always relied on for Thursday night games is who has the better coaching staff for Thursday night games. Like, coaching matters more on Thursday night games and on short weeks of rest than any other games of the week. Like, we talk about Andy Reid's like 61-0 all time on 2 weeks rest or after a bye week or whatever it is, right? Like, he has this phenomenal win percentage after the bye week. Well, that's great and everything. He's got an advantage there. But when it's stacked 1-to-1 and you're both on a short week, you have to figure out really smart and efficient ways to be able to plan in a condensed amount of time, to put a game plan in, install it for the week, get your reps in, and then have your team prepared and walking through everything, ready to play situational football. I mean, I think it starts these short weeks. Like, the better teams are typically better prepared way back in training camp for these games. Obviously a little less as it gets later in the year, but when you come in, and this is where I think where I think Sean McVay's offense is in the way that it's structured is going to be super valuable for them, because they run a lot of the same formations, a lot of the same looks. They just put little wrinkles in here and there. And with those particular things, it makes it much more easy for them to be able to execute from on a week to week basis. On a short week, it's going to give them a little bit more of an advantage. So I think that's going to be a big thing. They know what the Seahawks want to do on defense. Like, they're not going to be surprised there. There may be a little bit of surprise on offense for the Seahawks, but the Rams team, they are not afraid to kind of play that umbrella and kind of keep everything in front of them and play back to front, like keep it in front of you and then attack the ball. So I think they're going to be able to limit what Russ wants to do tonight. And I think it just feels like a game that leans pretty favorably to the Rams tonight. The only issue that I potentially have in it is playing in Seattle is really hard. That's a hard stadium to go into and win, and a really hostile environment. So, but I think the Rams they're big boys, they're professionals. I think they're going to be able to come in and be just fine. So, all right, so that is game 1, Thursday night football of the week. Taking Rams 2.5, feeling pretty good about it. Even though the game is in Seattle. Thanks everybody for coming in. For those of you that don't know, hopefully you're probably here from Twitter, but for those of you that don't know, my name is Joe, NFL Philosophy on Twitter. Probably know me better as NFL Philosophy. So thank you guys for tuning in. Really, really appreciate the time, spending some time tonight. If there are any particular games that you want to get to, especially before 8:20, before the game kicks off, definitely let me know. As always, you can do exclamation point odds or exclamation point lines in the chat if you want to see it. I'm going to have them up here on the screen. I will go through these in order unless somebody calls out something that they're interested in talking about, because we'll definitely be able to talk about it more in detail before the game, because once the game starts, we'll probably pay a little bit more attention to it. It's really cool tonight. Game is both on Amazon and Fox, or Amazon, both on Amazon. I think it's actually being live streamed on Twitter tonight as well. So I'll probably watch it there, which means I'm probably going to be like miles behind everybody else, but that's fine. We'll do what we do, and we'll enjoy it anyway. So really going to be really fun. We'll get through all the games tonight, even if we'll talk about them kind of during the first half as well while watching the first half of the game. I wish I could throw it up on stream, but I'm trying not to get sued by the NFL. And I'm kind of enjoying this streaming thing, so I'd like to keep it going for a little bit longer. And I don't want the NFL hating me because I'm putting their stuff on here. So, all right, that is Seattle and Los Angeles for tonight. No. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, so let's move on to New York Jets at Atlanta Falcons. And I say at Atlanta Falcons, but it's actually in London. For those of you that don't know, I used to work in the NFL. One of the coolest things that we got to do whenever I worked for the Bucks is go to Wembley Stadium and play in Wembley in London for the International Series game. That was us against the Bears. Mr. Aqib Talib had a really bad personal foul penalty that ended up costing us the game. That was the game where, was it Matt Forte? I think it was Matt Forte. The Bears running back made a move on 2 of our DBs, and then our DBs just right into each other. And then from there, I think we lost the last 10 games of the season. So I think we were 4-2. We were 4-2 or 3-1 going into that game. Ended up 4-2, and then lost the last 10 games of the season. End up 4-12 for the season. And that was when Raheem Morris and staff were let go from their positions. So London is a beast, man. And teams can handle that in 2 different ways. So what we did in 2011 was we went early in the week. So we actually played the Saints on Sunday. It was a 4:00 game, actually, which was kind of a pain in the ass. Because typically if you have a London game, you should have a 1:00 game the week before. So it gives you an extra 3 hours, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a huge deal. Because our players played a 4:00 game, went home, showered. They already had all their bags packed, by the way. All of their bags were on a truck ready to be transported to the airport, because first thing on Monday morning they were hopping on a plane and flying to London. And so they hopped on a plane, flew over to London. They actually got there Monday. They had meetings that night. Tuesday was their off day. Then some of them, they took a train to into the city, so we stayed out in Surrey, in a nice hotel out there. They took a train into London, did some stuff on Tuesday. A lot of their families were there, and then they had meetings and practice throughout the week. We basically took over a hotel out in the country for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And made that our facility. We had meeting spaces for QBs and running backs and all of the different positions. We had meeting spaces for the coaches. We had the gigantic copiers, because back then there was a combination of both iPads and paper playbooks at the time. By paper, I mean binders for playbooks. So we still had those printed out for anybody that wanted them. So, we had to put like big boy Xerox copiers on a boat and boat them over so that we could use it. And because the metric system is different over there, we had to boat over and cargo over paper as well, like all those little details. And then we had to have transformers and plugs and all that stuff because the plugs are different. So like all those little things that we had to manage on the way over there. We had a tent, so we converted a rugby pitch into a football field. Took down and used the rugby poles for the field goals. We had a professional tent put up that was the locker room outside next to the field. Another tent next to it that was the weightlifting room for everybody. That was for all the players and everything. We used common areas for kitchen, cafeteria, all that good stuff. So took over an entire hotel, spent an entire week there. And then we moved into London proper, into downtown London. And on Friday night, so Friday morning, they had practice, meetings, all of that good stuff. They get done, they hop on the bus, and then they end up going to into London. We stayed in a hotel in London Friday night, Saturday night, played on Sunday. It was Sunday evening then is when we played. I distinctly remember the sun setting through the kind of holes in the windows in the top of Wembley, which was awesome. And then we went out and played. And one of the big things that a lot of people probably don't think about or don't talk about, and it's probably been mentioned on broadcasts, and I just don't remember it, is in London, when football players are playing on a soccer pitch, soccer pitches aren't made like NFL football fields. NFL football fields are like turf that is thick and has super deep roots and is really strong into the ground. For football pitches, for soccer pitches in Europe, they typically it's tiny grass, and it doesn't have very deep roots. And that's not bad whenever you've got 170, 180, pound players running around and everything. That's actually really good for them. For 300-pound linemen that are literally digging their cleats into the dirt and tearing up the turf under them, and then using that to be leverage against another 300-pound guy, that creates kind of a problem. And so, ahead of the game, we knew that there were going to be issues with the turf. So pretty much all the guys wore their long spikes to start the game. There was a couple guys that didn't, and then they immediately changed changed their spikes in the middle of the game because the turf coming up was a big problem. So just some of the things that playing in London, like I don't feel like the normal fan would typically think about, all of the different mechanics and dynamics that you have to consider. It was technically a home game for us, so the stadium was outfitted with Bucks flags and in red and all of our colors and gear and pewter and red, and which was really awesome to see. But it was an electric environment. We decided to go the whole week. The Bears decided, hey, we're just going to fly in on Friday, and we're going to stay Friday, Saturday night, play on Sunday, like you would any game. So if the Bucks are going to play in San Francisco, typically what happens is instead of going the night before, they'll go 2 nights ahead of time so that they can get their bodies can get a little bit more acclimated, be a little bit more ready to play. At least that's the theory. And so we thought, hey, it'll be great to have a week in London. Bears went, hey, we'll have 2 nights and we think we'll be good because we don't want the distractions. That was really their line, is we don't want the distractions of London. This is still a game for us. This is still a professional environment. We're not here to take a tour around London. We're here to play a football game and win. And it was a really good game. It went down to the wire. We ended up losing, but I can't say whether going early or going later was the better option. I do feel like the Bears were more professional about it. Like they treated it as a business trip, and I felt like the Bucks, because we were there for a week. Don't get me wrong, there was still hard practices, same thing every single day. It wasn't like anything was different in terms of practice and meetings, but there was also a little bit of extra time for to be away from football for that particular week. So that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about with the London game for this week. Zarif, thanks for the follow. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. So when we're talking about that and this being the London game, not every team has traveled to London. I cannot remember if the Falcons and Jets have traveled to London before. I want to say I don't think I've ever seen either of those teams over there. Maybe the Falcons. I can't remember, but they will have, one of the things that we had was every team they give their report afterwards of, here's the problems that we ran into, here's what was good, here's what was bad. We recommend to other teams to do this. We recommend other teams don't do this. Maybe this is the hotel you stay in. Don't stay here, do this. All of these different things, both operationally, practice, football wise, everything, right? So, and then that gets sent to NFL operations, and then they have that entire dossier of and debrief to be able to give to every single team. And they've done this enough times now that it's not an issue. Like, they know what they're doing. And so the team should come in well prepared if they're smart and listen and pay attention to those notes from other teams. I think the Falcons and Jets probably both will. I will say that outside of the football stuff, one of the things that I feel like could play a potential factor here is which of these teams are younger, because I feel like the more experienced teams tend to play better whenever they go overseas. However, both of these teams are fairly young, and probably I would say the Falcons. I don't know what the average age is. I want to say the Falcons might be a little bit older. So I think that's an advantage if you have older, more experienced, more professional players, because they won't get distracted as easily. Let me see here. I want to see average age of NFL teams. All right, let's see. August 31st. This is probably the last one. Average age as of the 53-man cutdowns. And this may have changed a little bit, but I'm fascinated to see what this looks like. Just because I do think that it's not like, hey, this is going to win them the game, or lose them the game, but I do think it's something that I'm curious to know. Jets are the youngest team in the league. So Falcons are actually one of the oldest, which seems odd, but not great considering they're not very good and they're kind of old. So they are 1, 2, 3, 4. They're 20th in terms of age, in terms of, so Jets are the youngest and Falcons are the 20th youngest team in the NFL. So just a little data point to go on there. Falcons favored by 3. So when we actually talk about the football side of it and what goes on, so the Jets showed some life last week against a decimated Titans team. Like if the Titans even have either AJ Brown or Julio Jones, I don't think the Jets win that game. Or like any of, even if Bud Dupree was back, I think that is enough to get the Titans by them. The Titans damn near won that game anyway. So I do think that they're going to be fine, that the Titans are going to be fine, but the Jets, they celebrated like crazy. They won the Super Bowl. Good for them. They got their first win. Saleh gets his first win as a head coach. I'll give them credit in that they had 7 sacks. Zach Wilson showed off his arm. And Atlanta is probably going to let him do that a good amount this week too, since they can't get a pass rush and they can't defend the pass either. And then I do think that the return of Jameson Crowder makes a big deal for Zach Wilson and for this offense. I think he is a key piece to help them get to a different level. They were bottom of the barrel before, now they're just a rung up. And I think that's going to help them a little bit and help them at least be a little bit more competitive. Though they're still obviously not a good football team. So the Jets could potentially be set up for another win here. Like I don't think the Falcons are that good. The Falcons' only win came against the Giants, who have been okay, but still pretty bad. So the other thing is the Falcons. Ridley is out, which is obviously a big problem. That's their number one receiver. Russell Gage is out. That's their number two receiver. So that basically leaves them with a bunch of UPS delivery drivers at wide receiver, plus Kyle Pitts and Cordero Patterson. Like those are the weapons that Matt Ryan has to use, and Mike Davis. Like, and that's the thing is like I feel like they're probably going to have to figure out how to run the ball this game. I don't know that there's anything that they can do to really kind of help out those wide receivers enough. Look, the Jets aren't good on defense, but at the same time, the Falcons have nobody to throw to. And I mean, these are a bunch of guys that are every single one of these receivers are the worst receiver on the Bucks and probably the worst receiver on the Bills. So I don't know how the Falcons are going to manufacture an offense. And the problem is when you only have Kyle Pitts and Cordell Patterson, they're going to see a good amount of attention from the Jets. I do think both of them are good enough to shine, even if they do get that extra focus. It could be a good game to force the run. That's just what I keep going back to. I will say this. Arthur Smith is going to have to show his play calling chops this week. And that's probably where my biggest interest in this game is. Can Smith adapt his play calling to a bad set of players this week, to an even worse set of players, and against a bad defense? And can he scheme up the ability to get some guys open? Because I do think Matt Ryan can hit open guys if they're there. And if Smith can manage to get guys open, then I think that the Falcons have a good shot at winning this game. Falcons are -3. That feels pretty heavy to me. I would say if Arthur Smith can't manage a good play calling game here, I have some serious doubts going forward. I mean, we're only 4 games in, and this will be 5, right? And there's obviously a full season to go, but I need to see Arthur Smith begin to adapt and develop, or maybe the tank is in. Maybe they're just not interested in winning games, and maybe he's more interested in a game plan that provides insight into the players that he does have, sort of like a preseason game. So I don't know, man. If he can't adapt, Atlanta's in trouble. That -3 just feels very, very heavy to me for Atlanta. I don't know why you would think that Atlanta is deserving of 3 points in this game. So that's Falcons Jets. All right, on to the next. We're gonna get through these pretty quick. We can definitely get through at least a couple more before kickoff. So let me make sure I'm gonna have to up here, right? And I hope my mute button's on. Okay, it is. Cool. Prime Video Sports. So if you guys don't know, the game is on Fox as well as Twitch this evening. I don't know if any of the streamers, I haven't heard if any of the like video game streamers are going to be streaming it tonight, but I do think it's cool whenever they do that. I like just being able to hear something other than, you know, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and Chris Collinsworth every week, right? Like I like a variety of options whenever you're talking about being able to listen to a game. And I found out I don't miss the play-by-play very much whenever I'm watching the Mannings, which is kind of nice. All right, so that's Jets Falcons. Let's get into Philly and Carolina. So Philly put up one of the more disappointing weeks last week to me. That was not a good showing by them against the Chiefs. It was the defensive side of the ball was just one of the worst game plans I've seen all season long. They went so soft on defense, and it's not like we're talking about like they didn't try to get off the after the quarterback, kind of like we talked about with Denver, um, and with the Rams. They went soft in the back seven. They said, hey, we're going to try to rush with the front four. We're not going to blitz Patrick Mahomes, and we're just going to play a pretty stale two-man behind that, and we'll be okay. And what happened is they didn't adjust whenever Patrick Mahomes would motion Tyreek Hill across the formation into the slot, and they would be in zone, and they would and that would put a linebacker on Tyreek. And the Chiefs took complete advantage of those matchups all day. Like you can't, in no defense in the world should you be able to put a linebacker on Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill just absolutely decimated these guys. Kelsey looked like he was playing in Pee Wee football because of how slow some of these guys were. It was not a good game plan by Philly whatsoever on the defensive side of the ball. And then the other thing is they still didn't try to run the ball against the KC defense that you can run the ball against, and it was not a pretty picture by the end of the game. I think it was one of the worst game plans and play callings that I've seen from any team this season. It was horrendous. It was almost as bad as the Bucks last week on offense, I thought, which is saying a lot because that one literally made me irate at one point. So after that, I don't have any faith in Philly to come into this game and play well. I think Jalen Hurts is the type of quarterback where there's going to be some games where he throws for 350, 4 touchdowns, and he looks phenomenal. And then there's going to be some games where he comes in and he throws for 180 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and runs for 50. And you're going to go, oh, is he really the guy? Like, it's going to go back and forth. That's just who he is, I think, at this point. And if you can win with that, terrific. I don't think you can, not with Nick Sirianni calling the plays. He looked like a genius week 1 against Atlanta, but we now know how bad Atlanta is. Since then, he hasn't called a good offense, period, throughout the rest of the season. So, nothing about last week makes me confident in Philly coming into this game. Philly's a little bit banged up. You can throw on them. Carolina is they're good up front on defense. They're adding corners. So Stephon Gilmore, he's still not available for a couple of weeks because he is on the PUP list. And so he's not available until after week 6. It sounds like he's going to be immediately ready to go as soon as he is done. And Carolina. So Carolina, the problem with Carolina is they got moved off the ball last week. They got owned on the line of scrimmage by Dallas. Now, there's probably not a ton of teams with Dallas's offensive line that can be able to do that to them. They can do that to them every week. So Philly's definitely not that. I do think Philly has a good offensive line. The problem is Philly has no interest in running the football for whatever reason. They just seem to think that passing 40 times with Jalen Hurts is what's going to win them football games. And I just don't. I don't see how you can continue to manage that. So I've got to see more out of Philly from the coaching staff. I don't think the players are as awful as they looked last week, though I still don't think they're great. Carolina, I still think they're an above average team. Like Carolina got steamrolled by the Cowboys, but the Cowboys are a legit Super Bowl contender in my opinion if they stay healthy. That defense is playing really, really well. I'm curious to see how can they maintain that. But this just feels like a game where just look at, like, if these teams were even in terms of talent, and I think at this point Carolina's probably got a little bit more talent than I know that Carolina's got a little bit more talent, especially on defense. If you look at the coaching job that both of these staffs have done, Carolina far exceeds Philly up to this point. Carolina has done a terrific job of game planning every single week, bringing some new wrinkles into the game every single week that people aren't ready for. Hell, they have 5 rushing touchdowns for Sam Darnold, which is damn impressive. So there's Carolina -3 feels like an overreaction to what happened with the Cowboys. I'm surprised that there wasn't more of an overreaction to what happened with Philly and KC. So I'm taking Carolina -3, get it before it goes up higher, because I think the Sharps are going to be all over this later on in the week. It might have even been -2.5 to open for the week, but I can't remember. Be Eaton, welcome in. Glad to see you back. Was the game plan as bad as the Bears offense versus the Browns? So that one was more of a combination of bad game plan and freak athlete Myles Garrett just absolutely destroying multiple people on the Bears offensive line. That was bad for Nagy not to protect Fields and not to move him around a little bit. But the Browns also did a good job of trying. When Fields did try to move, they kept him in the pocket, and they were still able to get pressure on him from multiple different directions. So I would say it was worse than the Bears game plan. The Bears suffered from a lot of mismatches on offense against the Browns defense, and that was always going to happen. It would have been really hard for them to game plan around that. I think in Philly, I don't think that they were that mismatched. They could have done some things to mitigate it, but they did nothing to mitigate it. At least the Bears, you can blame on the players. So yeah, we'll see. But yes, that was pretty bad too. I mean, that was just sad. One net yard passing. I mean, I know there have been games where, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I know there have been games where teams have had negative yards passing, but it still feels very weird. I know the Seahawks don't have. Oh, Rams are pretty healthy. There's nobody out. There's nobody that's going to be out for them tonight. I just wanted to double check and make sure that was the case. Be welcome in. Glad to see you back, man. All right, let's move on. Let's get to. So we talked Philly, Carolina. Carolina's the real deal. The only problem I see for Carolina, by the way, is Carolina's left side of that offensive line still isn't particularly good. And Fletcher Cox could potentially have a big game on this one. If they don't plan on double teaming him the entire game, he's gonna eat. So we'll see how that goes. But that's really the only thing Carolina has to do. And Carolina is happy to move Sam Darnold around to give him different platforms to throw off of in different spots. So Matt Rule's he's gonna welcome Nick Sirianni to the big leagues, I think. All right. Let's see. Let's get to Green Bay, Cincinnati. So, Packers Bengals. So, Packers last week ended up showing before we get there, be eaten. Darnold out of the Gase offense looks much improved and decent overall. Real surprise. Yeah, he got into a little bit of a situation last week where he started to try to do too much because they got behind against the Cowboys. And when they got behind against the Cowboys, he kind of panicked a little bit and he made some stupid decisions, some bad throws, and that ended up putting him in a really bad spot of then trying to do more, and that's how Trayvon Diggs ends up with 2 interceptions on back-to-back drives. So, were they on back-to-back drives? I think they were on back-to-back drives. Might have been pick, punt, and pick, and that was pretty much the end of the game from there. But yeah, they've done a good job with Darnold. Now, do you pay Darnold at the end of the year? Probably not. But I also know that they're not going to be getting. They're probably not going to be getting a first round quarterback that's going to be better than Darnold from what I've been told. So do they roll with Darnold for a second year? And is Darnold willing to take another play it out contract for a year or two? Or does he just say, hey, appreciate it. I'm gonna go get a 3-year backup contract from somewhere else. So that's gonna be interesting to watch play out. Green Bay, Cincinnati. So Packers defense, bad, okay, bad again. I still have big questions about if Green Bay's defense can hold up over the long run. I do think that this is a Cincinnati offense that can take advantage of them. Cincinnati has one of the best skill positions, probably one of the most talented teams in the skill positions because they have Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I always want to say Tyler Boyd, Taj Boyd was a quarterback out of Clemson a few years ago that I thought was going to be good and ended up not being very good because I didn't realize how good his Clemson wide receivers were. But that's besides the point. So I think Cincinnati definitely has the offensive weapons to be able to try to keep up with Green Bay, mostly because I think the defense is going to be good enough to not get absolutely torched by Aaron Rodgers. I still think this is probably a game where Rodgers and company put up 30 points. The question is can Cincinnati block him up front? Does Z Smith have a big game? If he does, then that really kind of cripples the offense unless, Zach Taylor figures out how to use Joe Mixon really well in this game. And then it all comes down to Aaron Rodgers, right? Like Devontae Adams is probably the best wide receiver in the entire NFL. And I just feel like they're going to have to carry this defense until the defense can figure it out. And I thought that the defense looked a lot better against San Francisco. The problem is that I don't think San Francisco's offense has been good at all this season. The more I watch them, the worse it looks. And so for me, it's can Green Bay keep up with Cincinnati? Because I do think Cincinnati is going to be able to move the ball on them. I know that sounds backwards. But that's kind of how I feel. Like I don't know that Green Bay is able to cover all of these receivers. And Uzoma had a really good game last week. If he ends up being a weapon for them, these guys are going to be uncoverable. They just got to figure out how to block for Joe Burrow. And they just need to put the game in Burrow's hands and let him be great. So on Green Bay, like their offensive line is fine. I don't recall if there's any particularly terrible injuries in this game. Aaron Jones is questionable. They should be fine without him. Josh Myers is questionable. They need him. Jair Alexander, that's right. He's questionable, but probably not gonna play this week. It sounds like. Oh, Elton Jenkins is out. Yeah. So Kevin King is questionable. Yeah. So this is a pretty banged up Packers team, and I think Cincinnati's got a really good shot to not only cover but potentially pull an upset here. So this will be one that I'm going to watch those injuries, and then we'll pick Sunday morning. But I wouldn't count Cincinnati out of this one. They're 3-1, and I don't think they're as good as that particular record looks. But they're going to come in against this game against Green Bay in a really good position due to matchups. So, and I don't think Cincinnati is I don't think Cincinnati's particularly banged up. Oh, let's see. T. Higgins, questionable. Joe Mixon, questionable. They're limited. Trey Waynes, he's questionable, but they could use him. He would definitely help. Xavier Suafilo, probably a big deal if he's not in there. Deontay Smith as well. Let's see. Sorry, I knocked the cord out of my mic again. I gotta figure that out. So with Joe Mixon, that one he didn't practice today, so that one's one to keep an eye on. If he doesn't play, that's obviously a big deal. You're right, Beaton. He might be the biggest one out of all of them because then Green Bay is going to be able to tee off and figure out like whatever they're going to be. They know that Cincinnati's not going to be able to run the ball behind that offensive line and also without Joe Mixon. So they're going to be able to tee off on Burrow. And that's bad news with a bad offensive line. Even though I do think that he's capable of getting the ball out, he likes to hold on to the ball and really try to push it a little bit much. So, yep. I like Taj Boyd too. Yeah, that was a bad one. I thought he was really good. I just think that he made some throws that I remember thinking, wow, he makes some throws in some really unique ball positions. And these receivers continue to come up with them. Like that's really good awareness. Little did I know it was just terrible accuracy. And his wide receivers were good enough to adjust to those bad throws. So the biggest tip I could give anybody about scouting a quarterback is watch tape of his receivers. Because when you go to watch the receivers, it gives you a different perspective of what the quarterback is doing, because now you're looking at it from the wide receiver's point of view, not from the quarterback's point of view. And it's a really good kind of mental space for me to get in whenever I'm evaluating quarterbacks. That was something that I learned from Taj Boyd and Tyler Bray. Because Bray had who did Bray have? Bray had Cordero Patterson and another guy that's not in the league anymore, I don't think, but he was good for he was phenomenal for a few years. But yeah, so watch the wide receivers. It's a really good way to look at a quarterback, because when they're hitting their routes and you're watching to see where the ball's coming from, you're going to go, "Oh, wow, that was a terrible throw," and he still made the catch. Meanwhile, if you look at it from the quarterback's point of view, you're looking at it and going, "Oh man, he escaped the pocket and he made a good throw under pressure, but it still wasn't a good enough throw." It's just he might have gotten bailed out. And so by evaluating the wide receivers, gives you a really good perspective on the quarterback. So, well, pro tip, if you can call it that. All right, so we talked about Green Bay, Cincinnati. We talked about Philly, Carolina. Talked about Jets and Falcons, and we talked about Rams and Seattle. And we're about 7 minutes from kickoff, so we'll get the scoreboard. Hopefully, we'll just update that's up there, and we can kind of keep on chugging as the game goes along. I will have the game on in the background over here, and watching it, and probably call out some of the things that I'm seeing while we go through some of these games. So let's see where we at. New England, Houston. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. So Pats had a phenomenal game plan against the Bucs last week. They did exactly what we thought they were going to do: invite the run, let Lenny Fournette and Rojo feel like they're being efficient and running. Like, let them have their 100 yards, and let the Bucs think that the run game's going to work. And of course, the rain and weather played into that a good amount. But that was a Belichick game plan that we could see coming from a mile away, and the Bucs played right into it, and they damn near upset the Bucs. I mean, they were Nick Folk, half a yard from being accurate, because he doinked it off the side, off the upright, instead of off the crossbar. So he had enough distance, just hooked it just a little bit. I actually think it was more of the weather carried that ball a little bit farther left than probably what he was anticipating. Overall, Matt Judon is phenomenal. He's the best player on this defense and potentially on this team. The Pats have problems up front on offense. They are not able to block anybody at this point. And I came into this game really thinking that I just remember everybody talking about how surprised they were to see that the Pats offensive line wasn't very good. And I just thought, really? Like, there's not a whole lot going on here that I'm super excited about. And you've got a rookie quarterback that's not going to be able to help them get into protections like they have in the past. And look, I love Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach. I think he's a Hall of Famer, one of my favorite coaches of all time. And as a career position coach, he is a Hall of Famer, but there's just not a whole lot going on up front. Jonnu Smith has to be better. He's got to be more consistent. Hunter Henry's played really well. Aguilar, Jacoby Myers can't turn the ball over. Mac Jones, we've talked a lot about him. They're not asking a whole lot from him. Just be good enough, manage the game, and do what we want you to do as a rookie. And then as you continue to progress and grow, we're going to open up the offense a little bit more. So that offense, they're going to have to figure some things out. They had the opportunity to do some things against a bad Buccaneers defense last week. The problem is their rain didn't really help them in that regard. They did pull off a couple little trick plays, as they want to do. They are terrific at calling those flea flickers and end arounds and double passes and running back passes and stuff like that in situations where they need big plays to help move the ball. That's something you can always count on from the Patriots. You heard, I think it was Chris Collinsworth said Todd Bowles told him, "I don't know when they're coming or what they're going to do, but I know they're going to have trick plays. It's just part of their offense. You always have to game plan for that." On defense, the corners aren't very good. They just traded Stephon Gilmore away because he wasn't going to play for them. But Jonathan Banks isn't bad. They leave a lot to be desired in a lot of places. I think they're coached well enough. I think I've said this a couple times this week, and there are some people that have been in my DMs that are kind of reiterating the point. I feel like Belichick is losing his touch, and it has nothing to do with Tom Brady. I just feel like there are certain situations where Belichick has made the incorrect calls based on analytics, context, weather, all like personnel, all of that stuff. Like kicking Nick Folk from 56 yards in the rain, like he just seemed unfazed that that wasn't the right call. Like everybody else on the planet knows that that's probably not the right call on 4th and 3. And oh, by the way, when you kick it from there, even if you make it, Tom Brady still has 57 seconds and 2 timeouts to be able to come back and kick his own field goal, and that doesn't often turn out well for the other team. So again, Belichick's losing a little bit of his magic to me. I don't think that for Houston, with Davis Mills in the game, they're just not competitive. I think it was Steve Palazzolo from PFF said he called Houston feisty. I don't know if it was him or Sam Monson, but one of the two I saw had called Houston feisty. If Tyrod's playing without him, they're just not a competent NFL team, and they are as bad as what we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. Um, Brandon Cooks, if you're looking for like standouts, Brandon Cooks is really probably the best player on that team. I would love to see him go somewhere else and get a shot at being great somewhere else because he's still a really good player. Um, who was it? We're talking about how Jared Reed, who went to the Bengals from Houston, looks phenomenal in Cincinnati right now. So like they just continue to make bad. And here's the other thing. We'll talk about this with Houston real quick. What I don't understand is they went and they chose Davis Mills in the second round this year. And holy shit, is that an awful pick? Like when we go back and we look at that and we think about what they actually did in that particular situation and what it's going to cost them in the long run. So Davis Mills doesn't look like an NFL quarterback, right? We know that. We see that now. But here's the thing. Even prior to that pick, everybody saw that too. Everybody goes, "What the hell are you doing? Why did you just take Davis Mills in the second round?" Okay, well thanks, I guess. Well, good for you. Go for it. Like everybody else is happy about that. But the problem is they wasted a second round pick on a team that's in a obvious rebuilding year. They knew that at that time there was going to be problems with Deshaun Watson because he was holding out already. That's why they went with Davis Mills in the second round. And what a short-sighted decision. Like, hey, we're going to take Davis Mills because we may not have Deshaun Watson. Well, that's great, but Davis Mills isn't a good quarter. If he turns out to be a great quarterback and can be your starter, fine, makes sense. Nobody in their right mind thought, you know what, Davis Mills is going to be a really good starter in the NFL. And they went and took him in the second round. Opportunity cost on that pick alone is huge and is a fireable offense for somebody that's making those decisions, because there's a second round player out there that would have helped this team and made them better this year. That would have been a starter day one that they could have picked in the second round. And they decided to take Davis Mills all because they knew they were going to have problems with Deshaun Watson. Like, what were you thinking? It makes no sense whatsoever. And now you're going to roll with Davis Mills whenever you trade Deshaun Watson or release him, however that ends up turning out. It could be one or the other. A third round pick and traded up for him too, if I recall. Did they really? I don't remember that. Davis Mills draft pick. Let's see. Third pick of the third round. Okay, my bad. Not second round. Third pick of the third round. Either way, third rounder still would probably be starting on this particular team. Third pick of the third round. Overall, let's see. He was 67th overall. Man, he was picked 67th overall. Oh. Man. Draft trade. Let me see. Oh, their first and second. That's right. So they didn't have their first and second picks because of poor Poor management by them. How awful are the Texans, man? Oh my God. Oh. Houston's first and second round selections were lost in a trade to acquire. Oh, sorry. Nope. Sorry. Sorry. Huh. Oh, sorry. You just missed Rich Eisen going, what is up with that pick? All right. So lost first and second round selections in a trade to acquire offensive tackle Laramie Tunzel. I what in the world? I forgot how bad this was. I I mean, they didn't have a first and second round pick, and their first pick is Davis Mills. Oh man. Unbelievable. They gotta, dude, these guys, they need to just wipe that entire organization. I don't ever root for people to fail, but in the NFL, the way that it works is you got to produce and you got to be good. Think about it. Everybody in the NFL is the best at what they do. Every single person, or should be the best at what they do. Um, the way I used to think of it is what I used to love about working in the NFL and in team operations was I was one of 32 positions in the entire world. One of 32. There were 31 other people that did what I did, and that was it. Like, look, you can say there's soccer teams and baseball teams, they have the same people, but for me, like the NFL was the crown jewel of it, right? So there were 32 other people out there. Like I asked for more money whenever I first signed on, and they said, dude, you realize there's like 500 people behind you that would love to have your job and would do this for half of what we're offering you, which wasn't a lot, by the way. It was not very much money, period. Like it's less than I made less than minimum wage based on the hours that I worked. It was that bad. So, everybody knows that like coaches and high up staff get paid really, really well. The normal people that work in the like marketing and operations and security and facilities and all of that, they don't get paid very well because there's benefits that come along with it, so they don't have to pay for it. Um, so yeah, they like it's really you can't be in that job and not be damn good at it because there are so many other people that are really good at those games. So at those things. So oh, game started. Thanks for the heads up, Eaton. All right, let's see. Didn't New England lose like 2 to 3 linemen this offseason too or last season? They completely redid their offensive line. Beat Eaton. They went they redid the whole thing. Gabe, third round pick, traded up for him too. Yeah, so they didn't trade up for him, but it was their first pick of the draft. Yep. Seahawks got the neon green tonight. I don't know if did you guys notice? I got the colors. I went on theme tonight. All right, let's see. I don't want to. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll do it like this. It's fine. It'd be all right. All right. Oh, game's already started. So my screen is at 12.5. Matt Stafford just threw a corner route and overthrew Cup. They went full highlighter green too. Like not even just like the tops. They went full on highlighter green. All right, so it's 12:29 on my clock. Fourth down. Rams are about to punt. Stafford's still missing guys. Yeah, he wasn't particularly precise last week, man. That was kind of a little bit concerning to me. 13-17 in the. I'm hoping this stays. I want to see if there's more. Oh, you know what? I got an idea. Sorry. Pause. We're gonna make this a little bit better for you guys. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this guy and I'm gonna shrink him a little bit. You guys probably can't see that. And I'll just do this. Sorry, my Twitch manipulating skills are still not the best. So pull this down here. We'll be able to see that. We'll pull this up here. Let's move this guy over here. And then, no, come back. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. But let me... Yeah, here we go. All right. Now we're working. Now we are working. All right. Let me... We'll start there. All right, TV timeout. We'll start there. We'll leave it there. You guys can still see the screen. Let me see. Let's pull this up here. And then move it right to you. So now we're all lined up. Okay, there we go. Do you do a Survivor League beaten? No. So I've done Survivor Leagues before. I usually last like 7 to 8 weeks. Like pretty much every one I've done. There was one where I lost in week 2. Usually make it through a good 7 to 8 weeks. I think there was one I made it to week 12 or 13. I love Survivor Leagues. I'm not in one this year. Stafford still missing guys. Stafford underlying stats in Detroit was not good. To elite like was average, but understand part of why I think that's McKay should make him better stat wise. Oh, McVay should make him better stat wise. Yeah. So, I do think that he's going to be, I mean, obviously he's going to be much, much better with the Rams. I think he is one of the more physically gifted quarterbacks in terms of arm talent, that I've ever seen. And that's not really debatable. Dude can sling it. I do think he's lost a little bit on his fastball. Doesn't have quite the gun that he used to have. I do still think he's mostly accurate. Although, like I said, last week was not good. I'm curious if there's potentially like an injury that's playing into that or something like that. It just seems weird that all of a sudden it just kind of disappeared on him. So I'm not really sure what that's all about. Interested to see how that goes. All right, I'm at 12:16. The game tracker's caught up. All right, cool. All right, Seahawks come out, 11 personnel. Block it in motion. Metcalf still looks huge. Little play action. Found out it's zone because of the motion, and they got it. Yep. So one of the things you'll see tonight from the Rams is, and you just saw it there. So the Rams will come out, and they'll come out in a fake formation. And as soon as they get set in that formation, Cooper or Woods or one of their guys, like as soon as they get set, will immediately move. And the reason for that is that's their initial indication of, is it man or is it, there's no thinking about it, right? Is it man or is it zone? Because if you see a guy in motion and nobody follows him, you know it's probably zone. There are times where teams will still do man when they don't follow like that. But like 90 to 95% of the time, probably even more, anytime you see motion and nobody travels with the guy, then that means that it's zone. And vice versa. If somebody does travel with them, you know it's going to be man. That happens more often where somebody travels and then you see that guy ends up just playing zone instead of man. So that's more often for that to happen because they can use that alignment. It's a little bit easier. It doesn't stress the defense as much as going vice versa. So Russ Wilson's going to have to carry this game, man. And it looks like he's on it tonight. So that little teardrop on the corner route was nice. Hit the out, and now they're looking at they ran on first down. Yeah. Now they're looking at 3rd and 3. Seattle's definitely a run on first down and see what we can get and then figure it out from there. 5 wide, empty. So empty on 3rd down is nice because it defines where the blitz is coming from. They moved the pocket too to make sure. So you can tell there, Seattle was thinking that the Rams are going to bring the blitz on 3rd and 3, which is something that is a tendency that they typically have. And the reason they did that, so with empty, they showed blitz, by the way. With empty, because there's 4 guys that are going to be down linemen. And then if anybody else is walked up on that, because you have wide receivers spread all the way out, you can see where those guys are coming from. If there's a guy way out that's blitzing as a cornerback from the corner, and he's out on top of somebody else that's way over here in the slot or out there on, on the edge, it's going to take him longer to get there. And he's going to have somebody fill in behind him. So if Russ sees that guy blitzing from, the slot, he's going to be able to go hot to that guy. And that's what a hot route is, right? So that wide receiver has to see what's happening in front of him. And as he sees what's happening in front of him, the quarterback and wide receiver have to be on the same page to be able to complete that quick pass and then get the first down. So that's why a lot of teams you'll see are playing empty on 3rd and short, and sometimes even 3rd and long, because a lot of teams like to really bring the pressure there. So, and if you have 6, if you have 6 that are blitz, 6 showing on the line of scrimmage, and you've only got 5 to block, then somebody's going to be open for the offense. So you're just going to have to figure out who that is and get rid of it quickly, and hopefully you get enough for the first down as an offense. So some really interesting games being played so far. I did notice that Seattle had the one motion, and then from there they didn't really go after it, which is interesting because the Rams mix it up enough on defense that that you really want to know whether it's going to be man or zone. And if you motion somebody, there's no thinking about it. There's no guessing. You pretty much know. So, all right. So we talked about New England, Houston. Let's go. Let's do this. Sorry, I'm trying to add in stream markers so that I can make this easier later. All right, let's go Tennessee, Jacksonville. So we talked about how Mr. Urban Meyer grinded it out this week. Had a really good time in the bar. Grinded it out both on the field and in the bar. So, whatever he does in his free time is up to him unless it's caught on camera, and then it becomes a company problem. I've seen so many people give all of their opinions on it. I'll just say this. The weird thing is that he didn't travel home with the team. And I think that says a lot about where Urban's head is at, and his commitment and what he thinks being professional in the NFL is. It's a different ballgame up here, man. Like, this ain't college anymore where you just go out and you recruit the daylights out of guys and your team always has a talent advantage. Now you're at a talent disadvantage, and you're going to have to come up with game plans that you never even thought about or considered. It's just they don't get it, and they started to show it a little bit on Thursday night where they were kind of figuring out like, hey, I feel like Bevel was kind of figuring out like, hey, if we can get Robinson going and not put so much pressure on Trevor, we're going to be a lot better, and they did a good job of that. And then all of a sudden they forgot it, and the defense isn't good, the offense isn't good. They think Trevor is that he can stand back there and just take bullet after bullet after bullet, and he's both physically and mentally able to be able to take all of those. So I don't think that's the right way to handle it. They may be right, but that's really, really hard. That's really, really hard on a young quarterback. So I want to see them simplify the offense, not put as much on him, get the run game going. They're trading away players on defense that should be good players. So we'll see. All right, let's see. So we got spread. 1st and 10, nice catch out of the slot there. Stafford saw the guy blitzing and threw right behind him. That was the hot that we just talked about, so right on cue. That was a perfect example of a hot route. It looks like we've got man. Nope, that was zone. So Kupp, I said this a couple of weeks ago. I didn't think Kupp was being favored by Stafford, but he definitely was favored last week against Arizona. Like, there were situations where Stafford threw to Kupp and he had no business throwing to Kupp. It was just he had predetermined that's where he was going with the ball. So that's going to be interesting to see if that continues, if he continues to try to feed Kupp, or if he wants to try to spread it out, because Seattle could potentially prey on that if they have that. Seattle showing blitz from both sides, probably blitzing off the top. The bottom guy looks like, no, bottom guy's coming too. That was a run blitz. So that's what we're talking about with Sean McVay. Sean McVay is one of the more conservative coaches in the NFL in terms of situational football. When it's 3rd and short, he's not willing to take a big risk. Even on 2nd and short, right there, like 2nd and 1 is the perfect time to be able to run a play action and throw it deep and take a shot. And he has the quarterback and the weapons to be able to do that, and he still won't do it. Whenever it comes to fourth down calls, he's one of the worst coaches in terms of going for it and being aggressive. Seattle definitely in zone because they've only got 2 to the bottom. So Rams are in a 3-by-1, right? So you know it's zone whenever you've only got 2 guys over top of 3. There you go, to Cup. Yep. So again, feeding Cup, but he's taking advantage of that numbers mismatch on that particular side. This feels like a Ryan with Petrino thing. I mean, the whole Urban thing with Petrino is it just feels like I've seen this movie before, man. We watched this movie with Petrino. My only question is does Urban make it through the entire season? Somebody asked if Urban wins a game in the NFL, and I think he does because I think he's going to make it through most of the season, but I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to stick around after. That looked like a blown up play. Henderson was running that as a sweep, but it doesn't look like that was not blocked as a sweep. Oh, they just had too many men on that side. Stafford's got to get them out of that play. Oh, Stafford with the overthrow again on 3rd and 9. Woof. Yikes. Okay, so clearly the accuracy issues are carrying over. Is Stafford hurt? Is there something going on there? I'm curious. Because he did not miss those passes against the Bucks. Gabe, let's see. B. Eden, I was thinking the same thing. Did you talk about Cleveland yet? We have not talked about Cleveland yet. So we'll talk about Tennessee, and then we can get to Cleveland if you want. If you want, Gabe. Yeah, I haven't really beaten. That's actually a good point. I haven't paid attention to his feet. I was thinking it might potentially be more on his shoulder, but it very well could be in his lower body and him not being able to, or it could be an oblique, it could be ribs, it could be anything. It's weird though because he's overshooting everything, so that would tend to be something where he's not able to pull down on the ball as much as he should be able to. When things start sailing, it means you're either leaving your hand too high up or you're not pulling it all the way through. And so that could be ribs, it could be obliques, it could be mechanics in the feet or legs or anything. So Baker news. No, what's the Baker news? Is he not playing? I know he had an injury. I mean, he had an injury with um Hermsmeyer. It's just Stafford. Stafford did hit his hand on someone's shoulder against the Colts, supposedly. Interesting. And that's a guy that manages the Rams wire, writes for USA Today. All right, well, we'll see. No, I did not see the Baker news. Is Baker out or something like that? Where was this accuracy against the Bucks? We really could have used this. Has a partially torn labrum and left shoulder and played through it last 2 games and no practice off. Yeah. I knew that he had a shoulder issue because he popped his shoulder out in that game and then he popped it back in and then hopped back in and kept playing. It's really so with the left shoulder, it's going to be a pain management thing. If they can manage that pain in his left shoulder, it's fine. And I'm surprised they're practicing him a lot because that is going to need time to heal. But it's not something. I mean, obviously he looked bad. Baker looked bad last week. He did not look good at all. But the beauty of Cleveland, and we'll get into this. But the beauty of Cleveland is Baker doesn't have to be good for them to be good. It's a nice to have, not a need to have for them. All right, so this looks more like what I thought Seattle would be doing. A little heavier formation, power. That was off a zone, inside zone, but a little more of a heavy formation. Get a little bit of motion, get some guys moving left or right, and then get the run game going. And the Rams can be run against, unless you're the Bucks, and then you just can't run against anybody. He's going to have to be good for the playoffs, though. I mean, yeah, of course. Like, he's going to be fine for now. But yeah, he's definitely going to need to be, like, they're going to need to for him to be full speed. All right, 2 tight ends, 12 personnel. Not even a play action there. Oh. So Russ wanted to go to the inside tight end there, or to the inside receiver there, hesitated, and then realized the outside guy was way wide open. And then he already had his feet planted and had already pulled his hands. And that makes it hard to then throw from that same position. So bad throw. A good tight end still would have been able to bring that in and get at least a few yards out of it. All right, here we are. 12 again. So Seahawks have gone 12 personnel on every play of this drive. A little bit of motion, shows its zone. And then Russ goes around and, yep. Oh, defensive holding. All right, let's finish up with Tennessee while we're talking through this. So Tennessee up and down, they were decimated last week. They've got to be healthier for them to be able to win. I don't know who's worse, the Jags or the Jets, but if Tennessee doesn't come to play and that defense has not been good, that's been the big thing to me. Is I keep thinking that they're going to be just fine, even with the injuries to AJ Brown and Julio Jones. But for Tennessee, that defense has been bad. 24th in offensive DVOA, 26th in defensive DVOA. I do think DVOA slants very, very heavily towards the passing game, which hasn't been terrific for Tennessee. But obviously the running game's been uber effective because Derrick Henry is an absolute monster. So as long as they can get Henry going, I bet the Jags are probably one of the worst teams in terms of defense, and specifically probably in terms of no, they're actually pretty good in run defense. Rush DVOA is 14. They're 32nd in pass DVOA. Yeah, I just don't. This feels like another game where I'm gonna pick the Titans. I don't know that the Titans cover unless AJ Brown and Julio Jones are both back, but we'll see. Oh my God, that's what they need Russ to do. That right there. Russ has got to be able to figure it out in the pocket and to be able to come up with big plays to DK Metcalf, specifically DK. Lockett's going to get his, but Lockett's going to get his on timing throws and on plays that are designed. DK is going to be the scramble guy that is going to be the jump ball winner. And then he's going to get popped from 2 guys and be just fine with it. So, yep, go find space. Go find space. Damn, DK actually hit the safety instead of the safety hitting him. 41 does not look very agile. Looks like AJ Brown will be playing. If they have one, they're going to be fine. And the thing is after last week, I feel like Vrabel's not going to let them be bad 2 weeks in a row, I feel like. So I feel like Tennessee is going to be fine. Do they cover or not is going to be a little bit of a different story. That offensive line's got to be better. They've had a couple really bad games. When that offensive line is awful, that's when the Titans lose. So Taylor Lewan has not looked like an NFL tackle so far. He's got to figure it out. And until he figures it out, it's going to be tough on Ryan Tannehill. They're just going to have to ride Derrick Henry until they figure out what to do at the left tackle spot. So I still think Tennessee is going to be fine in this game, though. Watch a couple more plays, and then we'll do Gabe. We'll do Cleveland and Chargers for you next because it's one of my favorite games of the week. Two running backs in the backfield. So this is what I'm talking about. On 3rd and 2, the Seahawks are trying to do what the Rams do. So the Rams like to do some motion in the backfield with a wide receiver or running back in the backfield, and then another guy coming across the face or behind um, the quarterback. And what it does is it creates side to side motion for the defense, which makes it harder to defend, and also can help. It can influence where their eyes go on the snap and can potentially put them out of position. And that's important on these little short plays. Seattle doesn't run it very effectively because they don't have the speed across the formation. Going for it on fourth down, it's the right call. I don't. All right, so let's just talk about this play for a second. It's 4th and 2. You just tried to run the ball on 3rd and 2. You had 2 running backs in the backfield, by the way, on 3rd and 2. No, absolutely no reason to do that. And then you decide that your best play on 4th and 2 is to run at Aaron Donald. I don't understand sometimes. Don't outthink yourself. Well, that right there is what we were talking about. That right there is why Seattle ends up losing games. All right. Browns and Chargers game is so juicy. Yeah, you know what? I gotta do this, unfortunately, you guys. I gotta run this. So while they're running ads, I'm gonna run one too, because I gotta do it for the the accelerator program. So I'm gonna drop an ad in here real quick, and then once we get back, we could talk about we can talk Browns Chargers, because that's gonna be a fun game. And if you're subbed, then that means that you're not subject to ads, which is fantastic. If you're not subject to ads, then that means you get to sit through this stuff and actually not have to do that. Not that you necessarily want to listen to me talk a little bit more, because I feel bad whenever ads get run, just because I don't want to talk through something that somebody was really looking for whenever they're there. Dun, dun. So basically, everybody's saying is basically saying that Stafford's not very accurate. Nobody really seems to believe that he's an accurate quarterback. I mean, here's the thing, like when you go back and look at Stafford and his time with the Lions, when you're able to throw to Calvin Johnson, who has just the wingspan of, that can catch a ball. You just put it in the vicinity, like somewhere just in that neighborhood, and he's going to be able to catch it. Like that's nice to have. That's a very, very nice thing to have. And he doesn't have to be that accurate. However, I still feel like Stafford has not been this bad in a very long time in these last 2 games. It's just funny. The randomness of opinions on Twitter is amazing, because I've sat here and I've watched Matt Stafford overthrow 4 or 5 receivers tonight, and somebody goes, maybe not. So on his two incompletions, have been overthrows, and the other ones have, a couple of his completions have also been tall throws. And there's somebody in my mentions, or in somebody else's mentions, that quote to me that's like, I don't know, I feel like he's underthrowing the ball a lot. Like, really? Show me where. I would love to understand that. All right. Let me watch this play. 3-by-1. They're not running stack receivers like they did. Oh, perfect time for a screen. What a perfect time. Great call. So whenever you see screens like that, sometimes offenses are just lucky, whatever they call those things. But that right there looks like something the Rams knew was coming, because look, there's only 2 defenders on that side of the field. So there was some sort of tendency that they saw in the Seahawks that said, "Hey, we probably need to run this." Again, it's possible that they got lucky, but it seems like that was it was too much of a coincidence for them to be able to call that particular play in that situation. So fascinating. All right, now it's second down after the Stafford sack. All right, so let's talk about Cleveland and Chargers. So Cleveland showed me last week that, hang on, sorry. I'm trying to put markers in so that I can go back and edit this later. Boom, boom, boom. All right, Browns Chargers. So Cleveland last week showed me that this defense is for real and is actually the heart of this team. The problem is that from week to week, and you'll hear this from Football Outsiders, you'll hear this from PFF, you'll hear this from anyone who's actually studied this stuff. From week to week, defenses tend to be more volatile than offenses do. And the problem with Cleveland is the offense for Cleveland has been extremely volatile from week to week. Baker had a really bad game last week. We talked about it. It's potentially because of an injury that he had, where he popped his shoulder out and then popped it back in himself. Now he's got a partially torn labrum in his left shoulder. The good thing for Cleveland is they don't need Baker Mayfield right now. What they need is a good run game and a good defense, and they have both of those, and they have them in spades right now. That offensive line is terrific. Probably a top 3, top 5 for sure in the NFL. That offensive line helps the run game go. They have 2 good backs, so if one goes down, they're going to be able to continue to feed the other one. The defense has shown that they are legit. They're playing so well right now. But you also know, to me, the Chargers are a top three team in the NFL, and really probably top 2, because basically, to me, right now it's Arizona and Los Angeles Chargers. And this, like, it's going to be that until I see different. I will say I do think that there's matchups here that the Chargers can take advantage of. So unless Stefanski comes up with a stellar game plan here in the passing game, I don't see how the Browns are going to move the ball in the passing game a ton in this particular game. They don't really push the ball down the field. They've been solid in the short to intermediate area. The good thing is the offensive line is strong. So this feels like a game where Cleveland has to play like they did last week and jump out to a lead and control the game with a run. And as long as they can control the game with a run, I feel like they've got a shot. And the good thing is you can run against the Chargers. So really fascinating game. Stefanski is going to have to call his ass off in this game whenever it comes to play calling. Here's the funny thing about the Browns defense. Myles Garrett was just okay the first 2 weeks. Like, he looked like he looked good for a human, but he looked human. And he's looked like a cyborg who's been dominant the last 2 weeks. And he's got to go up against a rookie and Rashawn Slater, and he's also going to see some time over Storm Norton at right tackle for the Chargers. The Browns are going to move him around, so it's not like he's just going to line up in one place and go get him. So it's intriguing to see how much of Norton he sees. I think that's going to be probably the biggest matchup for the Browns to figure out on defense. Hopefully Ward is able to go in this game. Browns have a bunch of players who are questionable this week, so that's going to be something we're going to have to monitor as we go into Sunday. Chris Harris is potentially back for the Chargers, though he's still marked as questionable. If he doesn't go, it's probably not a huge deal. As long as Derwin James is in, he's marked questionable, but he's questionable every week on the injury report. As long as James is in there, they should be fine as far as defending the pass and being able to use him in different matchups on defense. Again, this is a Chargers defense that they invite the run. They're like, hey, if you want to run, then you're more than welcome to. They don't want to give up 7 yards a carry, but if you're running for 3 or 4 yards, they're probably happy with that, and they're going to let you have that. But then they're going to come back around, and then they're going to throw, 30, 40 times on you, score 40 points. And you're not going to be able to run the ball, and then they're going to have you kind of pigeonholed. So yeah, really interesting to see how this goes. Looking forward to see this one, but I've got to do some more work to get some more clarity on this one before we go. Rams going in right now, so 12 personnel. Stafford hits 12 in the hands. Jefferson's got to catch that. All right. Buck saying blown coverage on the underneath throw. I mean, again, that's a lot of what teams want to do against the Rams. Let them have that. The Cardinals did it last week, and Stafford was not interested in throwing it. Like, there were guys wide open and tight ends and running backs, and Stafford just didn't want to throw him the ball. So it was a mix of that and just what happens on shallow crosses. Yeah, it's just, again, look, they're in this zone defense and they're showing blitz on both sides of the line. They only come with 4. Throw that underneath. Darrell Henderson was open if he sees it. But Stafford throws a pick. What are you doing? What are you doing? Dude, stop trying to do too much. Stafford's going to tank this team. That's the problem. Stafford's just doing too much. Did he get the second foot down? He did. Does he have possession when he gets the second foot down? I don't know what Stafford was throwing here. Oh, he was trying to throw it away. He just kind of lollygagged it. He may get lucky on this. Because I'm not sure he had possession. Is Nick Merck streaming the game? Oh, Nick Merck, Swag, all of those guys are streaming. Of course. That's going to be us one day, chat. Going to be us one day. Actually being able to stream over top of the game. Huh. I thought that they were going to review that and end up being... I thought that they were going to review that and that was going to end up being a... coming back, but it doesn't seem like they were interested in that. Interesting. Okay, well... Yeah, that's exactly what it was, Gabe. Like he was throwing it away. He was throwing it to a space on the field. I don't know why. Like, he sees that 12's going the opposite way. He knows that. And he's not throwing it to 27. Like, he knows 27's not going there. So instead of throwing it out the back of the end zone, he just decides to throw it to a spot, and Seattle's athletic enough to get there. So yeah, well, so they can't challenge, right, Beaton? You can't challenge turnovers. They're automatically reviewed. I'm surprised that they didn't have that there wasn't more of a review of that. But I guess it looked like they thought that he had it looks like they thought that he definitely had possession before, because he's got to get possession when that first foot is down, or else it's not a pick. All right. So Cleveland Chargers. For a final pick of this game, I don't have one yet. This is a one I want to do a little bit more work on. I do think that I think the Chargers are a better overall team right now, simply because of the quarterback position and the weapons at wide receiver. I don't. Cleveland's going to have trouble, even with a good defense. Cleveland might have a little bit of trouble stopping the Chargers. I love Brandon Staley. Oh, picked off the other way. I was only halfway watching that, but tip drill. No, looks like a... Oh, no. Wilson threw it behind Lockett, and Lockett couldn't help him out. Bad throw by Wilson. I didn't actually see the play, so I couldn't see what they were running, but that one's on Wilson, because he threw it behind Lockett. Lockett couldn't adjust. All right. So for Cleveland, I don't think Cleveland needs a passing game. I think in this, it's potential that they get by with the running game. And maybe that's the way that they go. Maybe they just say, hey, I don't want to face maybe I don't want to face Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen and Big Mike Williams. So Stefanski's game plan is probably what's going to determine this. I have faith that Staley's going to come in prepared, have his team prepared. I just think that it feels like we talked about this last night, right? It feels like sometimes good teams come in and they just choke the life out of other teams. And this feels like a game where the Chargers come in and are able to sustain a higher level of play for 4 quarters, and the Browns kind of fold towards the end and fade. So yeah, I think that's where we're at with that game. Definitely one of the games that I'm gonna have my eye on this week, and one of the games that I'm particularly interested in. All right, let's see. Let's get to we did Tennessee Jacksonville. We'll do Denver Pitt while we're still on commercial. Broncos last week faced their first real test of the season after playing an extra preseason for the first 3 games. They got Baltimore. They didn't respond well. Teddy Bridgewater gets popped and ends up in concussion protocol, which it sounds like he's going to play this week. Let me check an injury report real quick for them. Denver. Judy's still on IR. Darby's still on IR. Hamler's on IR. I didn't realize they put Hamler on IR. Why does this not? Oh, Teddy. Will practice Thursday in limited fashion. So he probably practiced today. Probably going to be okay. Yeah, so B. Eaton, the way that it works is they have a concussion protocol, which it usually lasts 4 to 5 days. And as long as he hits milestones within that protocol of being healthy, if he has any setbacks, they'll shut him down. But as long as he's 100% healthy, Stafford, stop trying to do too much. So as long as he's healthy at those milestones, they'll give him concussion tests and awareness tests and all of that stuff every single day, and sometimes multiple times a day. And as long as he passes them all, he'll be cleared to play. So they'll test him out. A lot of it is stress test in terms of getting him moving and getting him like getting his blood pumping and his heart rate up and seeing how his brain responds to that, because his blood rushes to your brain, it can cause problems. And if he has any setbacks there, then they'll definitely shut him down. So it's not a surprise that he's going to be ready to go. It happens a good amount. It's usually probably a 50-50 shot. But if it lingers for more than a week, then it starts to become a little bit of an issue. So yeah, so Teddy's probably going to go. It looks like, if he's getting limited practice in, unless they're just playing games, which is good, because Denver needs him. Didn't look locked in at all last week. He looked the opposite of it. And when he came in, the Denver offense basically just shut down. Denver didn't have the greatest game plan against Lamar. They did what they wanted to do, and Lamar beat them. They kept Lamar in the pocket, and they didn't pass rush him very much. They decided, hey, they did the same thing. When you're taking Von Miller out of a pass rush, I just don't understand how that benefits your team. I get it. You don't want Lamar to run, but you can fill in behind Von when you're rushing him with a linebacker. So let Von rush, let him get after the quarterback. And if you're concerned about the edges, then put Von on the inside and let him rush from the inside. Like, there's ways to go about it. And Denver didn't do that. Usually I'm pretty happy with a Fangio defensive game plan. Last week, just not it. Without Hamler, without Judy, the wide receivers just aren't good enough. Even with Teddy back in the game, they're not very good. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, they're getting healthier on defense. TJ Watt wasn't healthy last week. He's probably pretty close to 100% by now. As long as he's healthy, let me see here. As long as he's healthy, they should be much, much better. Chase Claypool, questionable, remain limited. We'll see if he goes. If Claypool doesn't go, that could be a problem. He's their best receiver, in my opinion. Cameron Sutton suffered a groin injury, questionable. Doesn't say anything about him practicing. Yeah. And Highsmith's not even listed, which is great. So, and neither is Watt. So it sounds like they're full go. Nothing crazy in terms of people that they're missing aside from Chase Claypool and maybe Cam Sutton. So that Steelers front is going to be good, and should cause some problems for Teddy up front. And then Teddy's just not going to have the receivers that he's used to that are going to be able to get open. That could potentially create some problems. Problem is can Ben actually move the ball against what I think is a really good Denver defense? He can't move. He did look much better last week in terms of throwing the ball. He dropped a couple in that looked nice. Still not really pushing the ball down the field. It looks like Pittsburgh's game planning around him, not with him. So I just don't understand how they're gonna continue to manage with Big Ben. Again, Tomlin said Ben gives us the best chance to win, and I think he was trying to endorse Ben, but I think that's more an indictment of Rudolph and Haskins at this point. So we'll have to wait and see. This is the lowest point total of the season. So it's 39.5. Pittsburgh's favored by 1 at home. So that tells us that Vegas actually thinks Denver is the overall better team and that nobody's going to score any points. So because it's a very, very close line. So I don't know about this game. I'm probably gonna need some more time on this one. And I'll pick this one on Sunday morning as well. Let's keep blowing through these. New Orleans, Washington. New Orleans very up and down, very Jekyll and Hyde. Jameis, they don't seem to know what they want to do with Jameis right now. They tend to want to let him kind of throw between the numbers or between the 20s, and then once they get inside the 20, it's real Jameis in, and then once they get inside the 10, it becomes the Taysom Hill show on offense. The defense was the disappointment last week. Daniel Jones looked good again against New Orleans. There's no reason they shouldn't be getting more pressure, and why they're leaving receivers running wide open all over the place. They couldn't tackle Kadarius Toney last week. Washington is still bad all over the place. Like, Washington doesn't know how to run his own defense, which is fascinating to me. Like, there's a couple clips that are floating around Twitter now, and something that I noticed whenever I was watching them of these guys aren't looking for work. So in the NFL, defenses always say, and offensive line coaches and do this too, right? Is you should never just be standing around. You should always go looking for work. So if you're an offensive lineman, you don't have somebody to block, go find somebody to block. Huge run on first down there. If Seahawks can do that on first down, they're going to be happy all night. So go find somebody to block. Go look for work. Same thing on defense. If you're in zone and you're not actually guarding anybody, if you're not in front or near somebody, you're not doing anything. Go find work. Even if it potentially takes you a little bit out of your zone. Now, obviously, you don't want to break complete coverage, but there are way too many guys in zone coverage for Washington that aren't actually covering anything. And it makes it really easy for them to throw on. And then they go into man coverage. Oh, Russell going up top. He got him. Oh, that's a flag. Yep. Got there early. And so, yeah. So, like, Washington's got to figure that out. This could be a game where there's two ways that this could go. Washington could potentially get a good amount of pressure on Jameis, and he could go full Jameis. Or if they can't get pressure, Jameis could look like a monster this week because Washington's defense doesn't know what they're doing. If I'm Washington, Antonio Gibson's touching the ball 30 times a game, both run and pass. So I get it. Taylor Heineke is an absolute baller, but he's also all over the place, and he's not a guy that you can particularly trust. He's going to fight, and he's going to try to get you everything that he can, but I mean, that's not what Washington should be relying on. And if that's what their offense is built on, then I don't understand I don't understand what they think they can accomplish without having a good defense and without trying to protect that defense and letting Taylor Heineke throw the ball all over the yard. Like that's going to end up in turnovers. What do you like? How? That's you've got to. We're going to need some. Um, we're going to need some more out of that run game. And Antonio Gibson's been great to me, man. I don't understand. That's a good offensive line. Use what you're good at. Logan Thomas is out. I think he hit IR this week. Use what you're good at. Terry McLaurin is phenomenal, but I would go more Antonio Gibson than Terry McLaurin because it's a little bit safer. So Curtis Samuel hurting, yep. Thomas out, exactly. Like I just don't understand what's going on that. So did Rivera have these issues before at other jobs? He's never had a super talented defense. Well, at times in Carolina he did. Whenever he had Kuechly. Oh, there's DK Metcalf. Look at who it is. Said he was going to have a big game tonight. And he gets the first touchdown in the night. So when they had Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly, they could get a rush up front. Like they had some really good players. I'm trying to think of all of Rivera's stops, but I mean he's not been a bad defensive coordinator, but I don't think he's being the coordinator right now. And here's the thing is I actually liked what Scott Turner did in Carolina as the quarterback's coach, and I'm really excited about what he can do in Washington. But I want to see more Gibson. If they go more Gibson, I can forgive pretty much everything else that that Washington does. So wasn't he the Bears coordinator way back? Yeah, that's right. Yep. I was also asked about Del Rio. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Love McLaurin, but use him and Heineke aren't who you want going all over the place. Like Gibson had 31 rush yards against Buffalo. He only had 63 against Atlanta, and they were up. No, they were behind. I'm sorry, they were behind a good amount in that game. But then Gibson also had Gibson was the high receiver against Buffalo as well. Like he hasn't rushed for 100 yards. I don't think he's had. I'm curious. Let's see. Curious to see what Gibson's high in terms of total touches this year is. Yeah, and I get it. Like I get it, Gabe. Gibson's just not used on third down at all. Like I get it because they have JD McKissick and not McKissick. Yeah, JD McKissick, who they love on third down. They feel like he is their third down back. Gibson's good enough to play all three downs. And probably should. Like McKissick's he's fairly dynamic and he has great hands, but Antonio Gibson, I think his 80-yard or he had a 73-yard rush was on third down. He had a big catch that was huge as well. Like I want to see him get more touches. So he has 60 attempts in 4 games. What is that? 15 a game? Yeah, so week 1 he had 20 rushes for 90 yards. They hung in with the Chargers. Shocker. And then from there, he's had 13, 12, and 14. And they just haven't stuck with it. So I just don't. I just want to see, let him do his thing. He's averaging 4.3 a carry. Let Gibson go. Yeah, screen pass. That's the one I was thinking of. That's exactly the one I was thinking of beating. All right. Let's see what else. So yeah, so for Washington, New Orleans favored by 2.5. I mean, the thing is I think New Orleans is the better team, but this feels like the Giants game all over again. I don't know that Washington's going to be able to. Heineke isn't as efficient as Daniel Jones is. He can make some ridiculous throws, but New Orleans preys on quarterbacks like Heineke. they struggle with efficient quarterbacks like Daniel Jones and Tom Brady, like guys that aren't going to put the ball up for grabs a whole lot. So this feels like a game where New Orleans probably maintains. It is in Washington. If it was in New Orleans, like it would take this easy. But yeah, it being in Washington, I still think New Orleans probably comes through and probably covers the 2.5. We'll see how that line moves before we get to Sunday. Detroit, Minnesota. Probably won't spend a whole lot here. I still think Minnesota is a good team. They're favored by 8.5. It's in Minnesota. Detroit, bad, very, very bad, very, very, very bad. Like we're talking like bad enough that they probably could potentially lose all 16 games this year. They are fighters. I'll give them that. They can't rush. They're slow. They can't cover. They can't figure out what they want to do on offense. Goff isn't going to be the type of guy that's going to be able to carry them for very much this season. Cephas looks all right, but I mean, there's not a ton of weapons here either. So Minnesota, this feels like a 2 or 3 touchdown game by Minnesota. The only reason I wouldn't potentially go that way is simply because Detroit has shown that they don't want to give up and they're going to continue to fight. So, Minnesota defense, I'm curious what their DVOA is against the run, because I feel like, so we talked about it a little bit. Swift and Jamal Williams seem to go back and forth as to who's getting more love on different games. Swift, I think Swift is probably the better of the 2 running backs overall. He's so much fun to watch. Kid is phenomenal. However, they also seem to favor Jamal Williams, especially inside of the 10. So it's kind of hard to pick out who's going to be who, and I still don't have a good idea of who's going to be from week to week, who's going to be the guy that stands out, because it could go either way. And I don't know how they're specifically determining those matchups, or if it's something that they decide who's going to get the rock in game. Detroit, 30th against the pass on defense and 30th against the run. So, in other words, Minnesota is going to be able to do it however they want, and they will probably prefer to do it on the ground. And then Minnesota's defense is 23rd against the run, 15th on the pass. So, if the Lions are smart, they're probably going to push the ball on the ground, not take too many chances, play off of that to help Goff get his timing on, unless Goff has one of his weird games where he looks like he's Joe Montana all of a sudden, which he has 1 or 2 of those games a year. This feels like a rout in Minnesota. Still 7-0, 6 minutes left in the game. Nice little run off tackle there to the left by the Rams. Feel like they're running pretty effectively right now. Let me see this. I'm going to flip over the box score real quick. Box score, 146 yards, 127 yards, 41 pass for the Rams. They already have 9 first downs, and Seattle has 8. Man, these teams can't stop, huh? Except on third down. Both teams are 0 on third down. So just don't get to third down, because that's what the Rams just did. Let's just get the first down on second down, then we don't have to worry about it. Let's see. Rushing, 10 rushes, 48, 480 carry. Yeah, see, the Rams feel like they're running the ball pretty well. Now they're spreading them out. Dummy count, changed call at the line. Clearly in zone. Again, you got 1 guy covering 2 on the bottom, which means the safety is going to have to be involved. Yep, there he is creeping in. That's the way he's looking. There you go. Football is a numbers game. I love how football people are always like, oh, I don't like analytics. You know, it's just numbers. You got to understand the context, which, oh, by the way, we understand context, and yet here's Bill Belichick going against analytics and going against context and kicking a 56-yarder with Nick Folk in the rain against the Bucks with a minute left to go. Nothing about that made sense. So, yeah. Rams run off the weak side. See, here's what I'm talking about. 2nd and 2. All right, you're 2nd and 2 on the 24-yard line. Why not run play action there and try to take a shot at the end zone? They love to run play action boot, move the pocket, get a guy coming over the top, running that over route from the opposite side. Like that feels like something that that the Rams could do on 2nd and 2. And they're in the same formation that they just ran. And now they're trying to run on 3rd and 2. They must feel like the Rams must feel like they can run this on 4th down as well. All right, so here's this is going to hold up. So is Sean McVay going to go for it? It's 4th down. We talked about how he's not aggressive. He is down 7-0 right now, and it's going to leave 2.5 minutes on the clock whenever this play is over, and he's going to go for it. All right, Sean, breaking a tendency here. They spread it out a little bit more. Bring Cup back in. Looks like a run off the left side. Yep, there it is. They got it. Inside zone to the left. Yep. So, like we were talking about analytics. Like football is a numbers game. You see zone and you see one guy close to 2 receivers, and you go, I should probably throw that direction. Or you see 9 men in the box and you go, probably shouldn't run it. Hey, there's the play action rollout. Look at that. Oh, should have run that on 2nd down. Then you've got those guys creeping up towards the line of scrimmage on 2nd and 1, and then you got a better shot of getting it downfield. So I would have preferred that on 2nd and 1. But hey, got it. 2-minute warning. All right. It's almost like we know what we're talking about, chat. All right. Detroit, Minnesota. Yeah, taking Minnesota in that one. Miami, Tampa Bay. Do we want to go? No, we're going to wait. We'll hit Miami, Tampa Bay. Let's fly through a couple of these games real quick. Chicago, Las Vegas. So we talked about this one a little bit. I'm kind of tired of talking about Fields. Let's talk about Vegas first. So up to this point, schedule's been a big factor for a lot of teams, and one that we haven't really, one that we've talked about with a ton of teams so far. What did I do? I think I closed the window. I didn't mean to close. Hang on. Sorry, give me 1 second. I've really got to learn to talk and type, chat, if I'm going to do this whole streaming thing. So apparently Twitch is 7 seconds faster than over the air. Oh, fantastic. I've noticed that we're actually like on time. It feels like we're watching the same game tonight, Gabe, which is awesome. And it's also in time with the game stat tracker that we've got going. This little Sport Radar thing is nice. All right, so we've talked about how big of a deal schedule has been to some teams, right? So we talked about Denver, Jets, Chargers. I feel like we haven't highlighted Vegas's schedule enough. Oakland is 3-1, but they've played Baltimore, who that's week 1, wonky things happen. A bad Pitt team in week 2 that was banged up. Miami, and then they got the Chargers. So they're probably 2-2, leaning 3-1, just based off of that schedule. So they are where they should be, right? And they didn't look particularly effective against the Chargers last week. Chargers really dominated that game. Baltimore week 1 just makes it for a tough assessment. So I think that this is going to be a game where the Raiders are a football team where I think they're going to beat bad opponents and they're going to lose to good opponents. And they may give them a tough game, but they're probably going to lose to the better ones. Again, Baltimore kind of hard to pin down, especially out of week 1. So I'm interested to see. I think this This pass rush is probably going to get home. They're going to have a good pass rush against this bad Chicago line. Again, the ask for Fields isn't to come out and dominate. The ask for Fields is to just not look atrocious. And that seems like a very low bar. But remember, last week he looked good, but the Detroit Lions defense is one of the worst ones you're going to see all season long, and it's hard to overstate how bad they are. So we kind of have to take that game with a grain of salt. Now, I will say Bill Lazor calling the plays is going to be much, much better for Fields than Matt Nagy was, I think, which is terrific. So I think this is a game where Vegas is I think they're going to be able to move the ball. The Bears defense is good, but I think the Raiders offense is better. I think Vegas is going to get pressure up front, and that's going to create some issues for Fields. So how does Lazor call the plays, scheme it up to be able to keep Fields eyes focused where he needs to be? Again, Fields' throwing ability is phenomenal. It's his ability to read and to see the protections and identify the gaps in protections, because I got a feeling the Raiders are going to mix it up and make it hard for him to see those things. And if they start rotating safeties and coverages and all of that stuff, Fields may lose his mind. So again, run on third and short. What are we doing? Appreciate the idea, but like when they're loading the box like that, you've got to be smarter about it. They called timeout. They're going to leave Stafford out there. Who got the kickoff? Gabe, did you get that from Twitch or a good stat tracker? It's Twitch actually. So it's actually a Twitch plugin, I think. It's not something that you can get. I think you might have to have a Twitch account for it. Not sure how that works. Oh, here we go. 4th and 2, kicking it. Yep. I mean, this isn't the worst call, to be honest. I don't know who gets the ball at half. If the Rams get the ball at half, it's not a terrible play. If they don't get the ball at half, they should have gone for it. So that's how I would phrase that. You can talk about analytics, but there's your context to your analytics, because analytics probably said need to go for it. So yeah, so I think as long as Fields doesn't have like just an atrocious game, he's going to be just fine. Again, the expectation for me is very low. If you think that Justin Fields is going to come out and just be amazing in this game against what is a pretty good defense and a really good pass rush, or a solid pass rush, right? Like they're not dominant. Max Crosby is a damn good player, but him and Carl Nassib shouldn't be dominating other teams. And if they are, then your offensive line is bad. So it's possible that happens in this game. Bears' only shot is to be able to hold the Vegas offense in check. Don't think that's going to happen. It's Vegas -5. Probably lean in Vegas on that one. New York Giants, Dallas. So Dallas powerhouse, New York Giants. Average at best is what I would say. So here's the thing. I banged on the New York Giants. They're not as bad as me banging on them, because they are probably a bottom 10 team. But they're not this isn't a team they're going to win a handful of games, right? They're going to be in that kind of 8 to 12-ish range-ish. So they're going to be bad. And I think they actually have, on offense, they have a few solid pieces. They don't know how to use them. So Saquon should be good. Kadarius Toney finally got some love last week. Daniel Jones progressing every year. And that might be the excuse that John Mara has to leave Joe Judge and Jason Garrett in seat, is that if Daniel Jones continues to progress, why would you change, right? The problem is how many games do they win or lose in the process of doing that. So Giants don't have a shot in this game. Don't care if it's an NFC East game. Dallas is going to be able to own the line of scrimmage. Dallas probably isn't going to be pressured very much from the Giants front on defense. Dak should have a solid game. Secondary is not really scary. I know everybody loves to talk about Bradbury and the secondary. I just don't. I still don't think they're terrific. I think it was a fluke to win against New Orleans last week. That's not something that is going to happen every week. Dallas, unless Dallas just comes out and lays an egg, this doesn't feel like a particularly close game. And we've picked, and don't get me wrong, like there's been some -7 games. We picked Pittsburgh over Buffalo. I think it was +7.5 in week 1. We picked Carolina over New Orleans, which was +6.5 in week 2. Forget who we went with week 3, but we got that one. And then last week we missed the Lions. Who was that? Gabe, was the Lions your team or is that Austin's team? Um, that you were mad because somebody was mad because I was banging on the Lions and said they had or no, Ravens. That's what it was. I said that the Lions would. What was it? Now I'm questioning myself. Oh, nice throw, Russ. There's that cover 2 hole shot. So 2 safeties over the middle. The 3 places to attack them are the 2 near the 2 sidelines on those go routes. Whenever you can get behind the cornerback that sits, and then before the safety can get over to the edge. It's exactly what Russ hit. It looks like they're in quarters now, or just maybe off. They might be off, 2 man off. Nope, safety came down. Who was it? Where did that? Let me look. Yep, yep, that was 2 man, and they hit that hole. See it and hit it. Gotta love it. Running back on a linebacker. It's nice. That wheel route, man. Wheel route up the seam. Got him. It's hard to see, hard to defend. Um, I forget who. It was Baltimore. That's what it was. I was picking Denver to cover against Baltimore, or to beat Baltimore. If you saw a team run 4x1, 5 wide with the diamond, and then just threw for a 2-pointer, the man match diamond. Why throw the fade with a 1v1? I'll never understand goal line fades. Trainers are looking at Stafford's right index finger. Oh, that makes sense. Um, I'll never understand goal line fades unless it's to like Mike Evans. And even then, they don't even throw a true fade to Mike Evans. They'll often run him on a double move or a back shoulder throw. That's not a fade. Like no one's throwing fades up into the back of the end zone, or should be. All right. Yeah. So Dallas -7. I don't think there's. I mean, they're good in every which way. Oh, 15 yards. Hit him in the head. I mean, he's not going to get a concussion from that, but that's the rule. All right, San Francisco, Arizona. So this is a fascinating game for me in that, you know what? Let's wait. Let's wait. I want to see the end of this half. Let's do Indy Baltimore because no one really cares. Baltimore -6.5. I still don't think Indy's good. Carson Wentz played his best game of the week last week. Um, I don't think they have the people to be able to keep up with Marquise Brown or with Lamar, which is going to be an issue. And I don't know if Bateman's going to be in or not this week. 2x2, changing the play at the line. They've shown this look a couple of times, and it looks like quarters. But they haven't played quarters out of it. It looks like they did play quarters there. Quarters are off, man. Well, there you go. Kick the field goal, leave too much time on the clock. Russ Wilson gets them back into field goal range. I don't get it, man. I just don't get why coaches continue to play this way and play conservatively and then wonder why they get beat by 3 points. Carson Wentz played better last week, not great. I don't think he's going to do well against man coverage that Baltimore likes to run. They're going to blitz the daylights out of him. He can't move. Indy doesn't really have the necessary weapons on defense to be able to manage a guy like Lamar. And I would expect Marquise Brown to have another good game as long as he can catch the ball. Shot to the end zone 1 or 2 times, and field goal if not TD. Yep. I mean they're easily in field goal range. I love this though because they didn't waste any time trying to get in there. It's not like they shut down the offense once they got inside the 40. Good job, Russ. What a good play. What a good play. Russ knew he could run and was like, "Nah, I can hang in here long enough." And that was a dart. We talked about it before. Russ rolling to his left. Oh, holding on the offense. Damn. Um, Russ rolling to his left. There's not a drop off there. Guy can throw it. Oh, that's a weak hold. Leonard Floyd. Floyd played that off. All right, 2nd and 11. It was 2nd and 1. Now it's 2nd and 11. They're not going to be afraid to take this shot at the end zone again. And here's the thing: if they get inside of the 5, get down to the 1 or the 2, oh, they're going to rush 3. All right, Rams. Here's the thing: because it's inside, because it's on the 25, rushing 3 is not the way they're going to play this. Rushing 3 is not terrible, but it could leave them open to getting beat simply because Russ is going to be able to run around a little bit and find an open guy. And it's going to, those 3 guys that are going to set up a picket fence on the goal line, those guys could potentially get out of position just based on Russ moving around. So we'll wait and see. Baltimore -6.5. Indy probably isn't the worst team in the league, but they're still not good in my opinion. Thought Reich called a good game last week. Still don't think they're very good. Baltimore should win this one pretty easily. The Greg Williams cover 0. No, this is the spot to go Greg Williams, put your safety 30 yards off the line of scrimmage. That's what this is. The Greg Williams 30 yards off the line of scrimmage for all the safeties. But usually he goes single high and has one safety 30 yards off and then wonders why passes get completed right in front of him. Yeah, see, they're running a picket fence at the first down marker, picket fence at the goal line. Russ is going to... Oh, they just went with a quick little... Why do that? Look, you got 3 seconds, but now you're at 7 seconds, and you want to assume that every play is going to take 6 to 8 seconds. So, I mean, you get them a little bit closer, which is fine, and you waste a couple extra seconds, but all right. Play it conservative. They don't want to risk not getting points. I mean, the points are important, but missed it. And he still missed it. Okay, that one's on the kicker. And that's also why you don't play for long field goals. Holy shit. Wow. Wow. Myers just yanked it off the rip. That ball went hard left. Man, that looks like me whenever I'm hitting a drive and it's actually got a little bit of a hook in it all day. And so it's got a fade in it and everything's fading off to the right. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play this fade. And then I just absolutely shank it left the one time that I aim left. So that's exactly what that looked like. Just a straight pull. All right, we got 3 games left, chat, and then we're going to get out of here before halftime is over. Let you guys enjoy the second half of the game. I was hoping this was going to be a quick game and something we could go to bed at halftime, but it seems like neither team wants to score. Every time it feels like these games are going to be just races up and down the field. None of them have been that way this year. I feel like every time I'm like, oh, San Francisco, Green Bay, they're going to put up 60 points. Nope, not even close. So, oh, shoot. I have that up because I got to keep doing this. All right, let's drop that. And then let's talk about, so we talked about Cleveland, LAC, New York Giants, Dallas. Let's wait to see. Let's wait to see what we're doing on. Let's wait to see what we're doing on this ad. I'm gonna give it 30 seconds, and then we'll knock out these last. So we've got San Francisco, Arizona, and we've got Buffalo, KC, which are two very important games, and I don't want anybody to miss that. Thursday Night Blues, man. Beating every game has been good on Thursday night this year. It's been a blast to watch Thursday night games. The Sunday night football games, all aside from that Bears game, was really good. The primetime games have been fantastic. So now I don't know how much the refs play in all of that, but got to do what you got to do. All right, we're to the last couple of games, right? Oh, we missed Miami, Tampa Bay. All right, so we got to hit Miami, Tampa Bay, and then we'll get into the last one. So, that's actually true. Usually not the case, though. Yep, 100%. All right, so Miami, Tampa Bay. Beauty of this game is it's a completely different matchup for the Buccaneers. However, I saw Bruce Arians with a quote that says, very different matchup. Their corners, their secondary is a lot better than the Patriots. And it sounded like he really wants to run the ball again, which if they come out, I tweeted this today, if they come out and they decide that running the ball is what they're going to do, someone will need to remove every throwable object from my living room because I'm so done with this let's try to be balanced and run the ball bullshit that the Bucs are. You have the greatest quarterback of all time. You have an absolute plethora of weapons that no team in the NFL has the defense to stop. You have a phenomenal offensive line that's great at pass blocking, not particularly great at run blocking, and no defense can stop you unless you stop yourself by running the ball. And what's the one thing you want to keep doing? Running the ball. Like, what the hell are we doing, guys? Like, let's just let Brady throw it 45, 50 times, score 60 points. Don't care that your secondary is bad. Just the thing is here's how the Bucs end up winning big games down the stretch, especially against good teams. They're going to end up having to throw the ball and put pressure on other teams. They need to turn into the Chiefs. That's who they need to turn into. Just fucking let it rip. Know that your quarterback is going to be more careful with the ball than theirs are, because there's probably nobody better at taking care of the football than Tom Brady, while still being able to push the ball down the field and make big plays. And you have the weapons to be able to keep bad stuff from happening and for guys to get open. So let them go be great and go put up 45 points and make teams keep up with you. That's the difference between the Chiefs and the Bucs right now, and why the Chiefs have been so good for so long and haven't needed a defense. When they put up 40 to 45 points and they've got Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball, you know you're going to have to go out and do the same thing. Who cares if you try to run? Patrick Mahomes is still going to put up 30 on you, even if you try to run the ball. They don't have to do that with the Bucs because the Bucs are like, sure, if you let us run the ball, we'll just run the ball. Who cares that we've got Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, OJ Howard, Cameron Brate, Scotty Miller. I get it. Some of these guys are hurt, but still, like, why are we playing into the other team's hands? It makes no sense whatsoever. Let Brady fire it away and force teams to come up with you. And by the way, you have Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator who is as good at creating opportunities for defensive turnovers as any defensive coordinator in the league. So guess what? You put pressure on the other team, force them to be aggressive. Now all of a sudden your defense, which isn't particularly great on the back end, will have more opportunities to be able to turn the ball over. you're going to win the turnover battle pretty much every game because you know Brady's not going to turn it over very much. The one game that he did have a few turnovers in wasn't his fault. It bounced off receivers' hands a couple of times. Lenny had it was against the Cowboys. Lenny had the fumble or the weird thing on the screen where he just kind of like tipped it to himself and then it ended up in the Cowboys' hands. And then there was another one. I think it was the Godwin fumble inside the 5. And then there was another pick I think they had inside their own 20. And they were still able to overcome that against a lightning rod of a Cowboys offense. And you're worried about what your defense is. Who cares what your defense is doing? Put up 45 points, make people keep up with you, and then let Todd Bowles' defense go eat. Because if they can pin their ears back and start getting off the quarter, they can't take advantage of Tryon Shoyinka on the edge whenever Tryon Shoyinka, all he has to do is think about see ball, get ball, hit quarterback. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Go do what you need to do and let Todd Bowles do what he can do. Let him scheme it up and dial it up and create pressure and create situations where quarterbacks are going to make bad throws, and it's going to protect that secondary. Now, they haven't been able to get a lot of pressure so far this season, but they really they did it last week. They started to get there. I think they faced a couple of offensive lines that have been really good. And as they get into a little bit weaker part of their schedule, they just got to let it rip, man. They just got to let it go. So that's what I want to see from them. They're going to have, here's the thing, Jacoby Brissett holds on to the ball. He's great in the pocket, good at moving his feet, maneuvering, making time for himself in the pocket. Problem is that he holds on to the ball way too long. That's going to create some issues for him because you cannot hold on to the ball against this defense and against these blitzes. So he's got to see it, throw it, get it out. But that's not his style. This is a bad matchup for Jacoby Brissett. Devontae Parker has potential for a pretty solid game. These wide receivers aren't terrific. He probably doesn't have a great opportunity throwing to his tight end because of David and White at linebacker. Richard Sherman is who he is, and he's going to be much better prepared this week because they're not just going to keep him in cover 3 on the outside. Again, we talked about it last week. They put him in a bad spot. It wasn't just him. It was the play calling, what they were asking him to do, put him in a negative position and trying to cover people. So that was tough. I mean, Tampa Bay's -10. I don't know why it's not minus. Well, I know why it's not -20. Because they decided that they want to run the ball and they can't figure out how to separate right now in the score on the scoreboard. So I don't know how I'm going to pick this game because I just have no faith in Leftwich to call a good game and to just let it fly. But at some point, he's going to have a whole lot of mouths that are chattering at him. So to get them the ball, whether that's Antonio Brown or Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, like they're still going to need to throw it a good amount just to feed and distribute the ball. And nobody does that better. Brady's really good at throwing the ball around and getting it to different people against bad teams. Like he's like at Madden whenever you're like, you know that whenever you're playing on easy mode or on rookie mode and you're like, oh, I want to get this guy a touchdown. I want to get this guy a touchdown. And you just scheme up stuff for those particular guys. That's how Brady feels right now against bad teams. But whenever it's good teams that know what they're doing, he's going to have a problem because Leftwich decided he wants to run the ball. So, all right, I'll pick that one on Sunday. I feel confident about Tampa Bay winning simply because they're just such an overall better team. Those cornerbacks are good though. I'll give them that. So I just, there are too many weapons though. Once they start getting into that 4th and 5th cornerback, Miami just can't keep up. So the Bucs should be okay with losing a game if Brady is turning it over. Like you said, just let it. Exactly. If Brady turns it over, so what? I mean, shit's gonna happen. But you're gonna lose games by not letting Brady do that. You're gonna lose more games by trying to run Rojo and Lenny than you are by letting Brady just turn it loose. So it makes no sense to me. They can't seem to figure it out. But they didn't seem to see what we saw in exactly what the Pats were going to do on Sunday night. And they seem completely confused by it. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm severely disappointed in that offense right now. All right. That's Bucks and Miami. Wolf 75, thanks for coming in. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Appreciate the follow. All right, last two games. We got San Francisco, Arizona, Buffalo, KC. Glad you guys stuck around because these are going to be two very, very good games this week. So it may feel like Arizona minus 5.5. It may feel like Arizona is a much better team than San Francisco, but this is a fascinating game, and that Trey Lance changes the entire dynamic of it. And I don't think for a second that Jimmy G plays this game. I don't even know if Jimmy is actually even really hurt. But I think that this is a coordinated thing by the 49ers to go to Trey Lance, and an injury to Mr. Garoppolo is what they need to be able to hide what they are what they're doing, right? And give Trey Lance an opportunity to come in and play and see how it goes. And then if for some reason it seems like he's not going to get this offense in sync or get them moving, because they are not moving the ball very well right now and not playing well as a cohesive offensive unit. If he can't do it, then under the guise of Jimmy Garoppolo getting healthy, they're going to be able to bring Jimmy G back in. So, and by the way, if you think about it from the Niners' point of view, if they bench Jimmy G, other teams will say, hey, he's just your backup quarterback now. We don't need to trade you a first for Jimmy because he's your backup. You guys don't feel like he's worthy of being a starter. He's not worth a first. So they can protect their draft capital by making sure that he's injured for this particular game. And we'll see how this goes. Obviously, the big thing about Trey Lance is his ability to run the ball and add that element to this offense. And that's going to allow them to make it into a big play. Is the game back on already? Damn. All right. It's going to be able to make it into a big play machine, both through the run game and through the pass. Here's the thing. Lance didn't look sharp last week. Lance supporters will tell you he didn't get reps with the ones and practice on a full game plan all week. The Lance detractors will tell you that he's not ready and that's just who he is. And as usual, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Lance may not be efficient, but he could hit big plays and open receivers. And a Shanny offense with Lance at QB could be so much fun. Here's the thing. If we get technical about it and talk about what Lance actually, just being in the game actually does to a defense. So Lance changes the numbers game for the defense. So when a defense accounts in the run game, they account for every gap and then one guy on the running back and then one guy in the back, right? That's like the catch-all. Now, the reason that guy in the back that can be the catch-all is because the quarterback's not in the play. When the quarterback hands it off, he's done. He's out of the play. He's going somewhere else. He's not blocking. He's not somebody that you have to account for. It's just one less guy. When you run the ball, it's effectively 10 on 11, right? And then that guy is that safety, which is deep, which is probably that last resort. That guy is the one that comes down and just makes sure that it doesn't end up being a 70-yard run. So when you run with a quarterback, now all of a sudden it's 11 on 11. And now you have to account for everything, because that running back, if they run power, that running back can be a blocker for Trey Lance into the gap. Now all of a sudden that free linebacker that should have been in the gap hitting the running back is hitting the running back. But the running back's not who he's tackled. The guy with the ball is the next guy coming through that hole. Now all of a sudden you've got one-on-one on that safety. And that's fantastic for a running game, because if that quarterback is one-on-one with that safety, that means he's already 8, 9, 10, 12 yards down the field. So by that point, it's already a positive play for the offense. So just having Trey Lance potentially makes this a numbers game for the 49ers. And with an additional advantage like that, Shanny could be a lot of fun to watch scheme it up. And it's kind of like I talked about with Lamar, right? Like, he doesn't have to be, and Gabe, you hit on this, that 75-yard TD throw was so bad, but that dude was so open. That's the thing. Like, Trey Lance doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to be able to hit the open guys. And we talked about the dichotomy of a Teddy Bridgewater or a Drew Lock. And Trey Lance is the type of guy that he's going to be able to hit the big throw if it's wide open, but he also needs to figure out how to hit the wide open guy that's short and take the easy one there. Teddy can hit the open guy. Drew Lock is going to take that big throw and is going to be more of a 50-50 guy. Lance has got to figure out kind of where he's at in between those two guys and be smart about the shots that he takes, or just make sure he hits the open guy. And you're right, like Gabe, that throw to Deebo Samuel, he way underthrew it. That was one of those, he saw how wide open he was, and he just kind of like halfway through it because he was so scared about missing it that he didn't actually drill the throw in there like he normally does. Like Trey Lance has been criticized for throwing the ball way too hard so far, which is accurate. And on that one, he decided, I'm just going to kind of push that one in. And he got a little bit scared, but Deebo Samuel still takes it to the house. So with Trey Lance running this particular offense, Shanahan getting him in there. And the thing is Trey Lance, it's not like Trey Lance is like a bulldozer in there, right? I mean, he's a stout dude, but he's not a guy that you just want taking hits all over the place. So he's got to be smart about that too. But with the defense needing to account for one extra guy, Shanahan calling the plays, they're going to be able to call a bunch of different things off of the play action. The RPOs that he's going to have. Like this is going to be a college offense all over again. Like Shanahan's going to be able to scheme it up like that. And I'm not sure. Almost tip ball interception. And I'm not sure that that Arizona is prepared to deal with it, because Arizona's responsibility, right? We talked about the technical. So having to manage run fits and fill your gaps and gap discipline. Gap discipline is making sure that every gap that is there has somebody in it. Arizona is awful about gap discipline. I mean, terrible about gap discipline, but they don't care because they're fast enough to adjust and to be able to tackle guys. And they don't miss a ton of tackles. So they're super athletic. They can get to the ball carrier, but this is going to be a little bit different because if they don't have gap discipline and they're missing a guy based on the numbers change, Lance creates a pretty big problem for Arizona, and that can create a pretty big advantage for San Francisco. I still don't think that they end up getting like being fully in sync this game, because it's definitely going to be a different change. Trent Williams and George Kittle are both questionable. That's a big deal for San Francisco, but this is potentially going to be a lot of fun, and I'm curious to see how it works out, because if Trey Lance comes in, this all of a sudden becomes not a great matchup for Arizona. I thought Arizona was going to be just fine. They're terrific in man coverage. They'll mix it up. They'll play quarters. They'll play 2 high. They'll play single high. They'll play cover 3. They'll play man. They'll play zone. They'll do whatever. And then they don't really need to blitz that much because Chandler Jones is such a freak that they're going to be able to get pressure. So San Francisco is going to have to, they're not going to be able to stop. Their defense is not good enough to stop Arizona. And the way Kyler Murray is playing, I mean, he's just out of his mind right now. He's using the middle of the field more, which is huge for this offense. He's more efficient while still making big plays. To tackle him, you need multiple people on Kyler Murray, because one guy isn't going to be able to do it and get it done, especially in space. AJ Green looks like he's back, though I wouldn't say he's back to like the old dominant AJ Green, but he looks like a good receiver again. Hopkins has been hurt, but still playing pretty well. With Hopkins, Green, Rondell Moore, Christian Kirksey, Max Williams at tight end, this is a fun offense, man. And Kyler Murray he continues to get it done. He looks like his ability to throw it all over the field. He's improved so much, in my opinion, this year, and things that he's been able to do. Edmonds looks terrific last week. Connor seems like the power back that they want to use, get him carries inside the 10 and score the touchdowns. Like, this offense they're going to end up just being, they feel that, again, this is one of those games where I'm like, this feels like a track meet. This feels like San Francisco is going to be able to have runs for 20 or 40 yards with Trey Lance or some form of run off of Trey Lance action. And they're going to be able to move the football. and score, and they're going to be better in the red zone because they're going to be able to do this without having to throw the ball. And then San Francisco just can't stop Arizona. They're just not good enough. I mean, they'll try to rush the passer. It'll be like they're not going to be able to get there all the time. Kyler Murray gets the ball out pretty quickly when he wants to, but other times when he can't, he's able to move inside the pocket, and he's better at keeping his eyes up. And then whenever he escapes the pocket, it's probably a big play for the offense. So there's just so many ways that Arizona can beat you right now, especially with the way Kyler Murray is playing. It ends up being a Shanahan versus a Cliff Kingsbury game, and that's going to be fun. Vance Joseph, defense coordinator for Arizona, called a fantastic game. He mixed it up so much last week against the Rams, made it a little bit harder for Stafford to see what he wanted to see. They were putting hits on Kupp. They were physical. Anytime they could get a shot in on a wide receiver, they were taking that shot, even if it was a little bit iffy on if a flag was going to be thrown. Like this one's going to be fun. I keep overestimating San Francisco over and over and over again. This may be the situation where I do it again. And if for some reason Trey Lance comes in and I overestimate them and Arizona blows them out by 30, 40 points, I will pick against San Francisco the rest of the year because I just don't. I'm tired of being embarrassed. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right? Fool me 3 times, can't get fooled again. Right? What's the old George Bush line or something like that? So yeah, fascinating game with Trey Lance, and we're gonna find this out on Sunday with Trey Lance. I'm leaning for a cover. I want to see this line move to like -6 for Arizona, and then I feel much more comfortable. But with Trey Lance, it could get pretty interesting. So there's that. Last game of the week. Hang on. Let's see. Gabe. Remember Kyle did have RG3 before, so he's run stuff like this before. Oh yeah. Absolutely. He knows what he's doing, and he can pull this together. Shanahan's, to me, has been over the last 4 to 5 years has been the best play caller in the NFL. And game designer, right? Because that's also what he's doing. He's designed the game, and then he goes in and calls the plays. So I don't doubt him in the least and his ability to be able to use Trey Lance. And that's actually why I was so excited that they were the ones to get him, because Shanahan is the type of guy to get the most out of him. So Trey Lance, big arm, inconsistent in accuracy, throws the ball too hard, throws the ball 90 miles an hour on a 5-yard out, and sometimes on a 5-yard in. Not terrific. So that'll be interesting to see if he can figure it out. But man, if they get those safeties moving up for Arizona, Deebo Samuel could have another big game. Again, got to see if Kittle and Trent Williams play. All right, final game of the night, final game of the weekend. Buffalo KC -2.5, total at 56.5. I mean, here's the thing. We got to be careful here because we've talked about strength of schedule and how important that is. The Bills haven't faced a strong schedule so far in that they've played Pittsburgh in week 1, who they lost to, Miami, Washington, and then Houston. So we just have to be aware of that. Look, the Bills have looked dominant against those teams outside of the Pittsburgh game, but Pittsburgh was fully healthy. Ben didn't look like he was the crypt keeper in that game. He looked a little more like maybe he was just old Ben and not washed Ben. And so he ended up playing fairly well. They got the run game going. Man, Stafford is off tonight. That finger is hurting. They should put a glove on. Because putting a glove on is going to help him grip the ball a little bit better and not have to squeeze it so hard. He's still throwing a nice spiral. If you see a ball wobble a little bit, especially with the nose up, it tells you that the quarterback's squeezing it too hard, because he's squeezing it so hard that the front end of the football goes up, and he's not letting it just roll off of his finger. So I'm looking at the spiral of Matt Stafford and seeing if he's throwing wobbly balls or if he's throwing spirals, and he's still throwing spirals. So All right. Wow. And it always helps to have a guy like that on your offense. They can just outrun everybody. Man, Djax isn't the speed that he used to be, and he still outruns people. How crazy is that? Dude, why do you... Oh. And Stafford still underthrew him. Stafford did the same thing against... Stafford did the same thing against Tampa Bay. He underthrew Deshaun Jackson twice. Deshaun couldn't locate one. And then finally found him on the third one. And that was kind of the nail in the coffin. So Jamal Adams was looking for the hit, not for the ball. Oh, nice little toss play. Oh, nice cutback, Joe. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson's still outrunning people. Like Tyreek Hill is faster than Deshaun Jackson ever thought about being too. That's the funny thing. There's this old saying, if he's even, I'm leaving. Right. So once the cornerback got even and put his cleats in the ground, and Deshaun Jackson's even with him, ball's being tossed. I mean, that ball should be in the air on the way up, and that safety's never going to have a shot because he's looking forward, not being able to turn and run. Jamal Adams is a freak, but that's a hard play even for him. Oof. 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 That offensive line just completely moved the line of scrimmage into the end zone. And that was even on a zone play. It's not like they're running power. They just move the line of scrimmage on zone. Inside zone to the right. Look at that wall. Look at that wall. Oh, easy to run whenever that stuff happens. Easy to run. That's a beauty. That's what I expected the Rams to do all night. All right. That was beautiful. Did he miss that? Oh my God, what are we doing? Ugh. By the way, I hate these jerseys for the Rams. This cream colored off-white or whatever it is. This beige. Like, dude, just go with white. It's ugly. Just go with white. God, kickers have been awful. Is the wind bad? Let's see. No, it's 2 miles per hour wind in Seattle right now. What? Here's the thing. I don't mind the highlighter, Gabe. I actually like it whenever they go with the blue pants. The full on, like, head to toe highlighter green. It's not my favorite. I don't hate it. Am I weird for that? I don't hate it. But it's also like, all right, that's a little bit too much. I love it whenever they go with the blue pants and then they get like the highlighter accents to it. That's the best. There was one version of that where it was more of a green than a yellow. That was awesome. Let me see. Seattle Seahawks alternate jersey. Because there used to be see, the old ones were, they were the green with the blue sleeves. That's what it was. That was the difference. Okay. Because I was like, man, I feel like there was more of like an accent on there. And I love them with the blue pants, and I think I actually like the full on green, not just the blue not the blue on the sleeves, with the blue pants. Those are probably my favorite. All right. Where were we at? All right. Buffalo KC. Oh, okay. So we got to be careful because the Bills have faced Pittsburgh, Miami, Washington, and Houston. But they've looked dominant in doing so. They lost to Pittsburgh, but that was when Pittsburgh looked a lot better. KC, on the other hand, they're 2-2, and the defense looks like they can't stop anyone. In fact, they're rated 32 in defensive DVOA, worst in the league. But they've played Cleveland, Baltimore, and the Chargers, and then they dominated the Eagles, of course. So this is a tricky game to pick because do we really know what's going on? Man, the kickers are struggling tonight. Because do we really know like what's going on with either of these teams? Buffalo's looked good against bad opponents, and KC's looked human against a really tough schedule. And then the one team that they should have beaten, they thumped them pretty good. So it's tough to know what's going on, and this is definitely a game that I feel like I still need a little bit more work on. We talked about it before that KC isn't a disciplined and sound defense, and that leaves a lot of gaps, and that they can be run against. They can also be thrown against because they like to play man coverage and be aggressive about it. The KC offense is still powerful. Again, best offensive DVOA, but worst defensive DVOA. The funny thing is the Bills are now number 1 in overall DVOA, which, by the way, as a reminder, is adjusted for competition. Like it's the way that it is figured is it takes into account the teams that have been played for every single team and how successful certain plays were with how successful certain plays were in relation to other teams that have played the teams that play happened against, right? So they do take that into account. So again, it's going to be really hard to figure out this particular. Oh, he's wide open, and he missed him. Damn. And now Russ got hit on the. Looks like he jammed his middle finger. Uh-oh. Did he just dislocate his finger and pop it back in? I think he just dislocated his knuckle and popped it back in. Did I see that? Or am I crazy? I might be crazy. Uh-oh. If Russ has a broken finger, that's going to be bad. Oh, that's not good. Oh, he's holding his hand after a handoff. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, this is going to be bad. This is not good. I'm surprised this game's this close. No Gerald Everett. Russ basically handled that entire first drive all by himself. They've made some bad decisions. I'm just surprised the Rams haven't taken. Oh, is it dislocated or is it? Yeah, like he's like that one finger. Can you do that? That middle finger was like this while everything else was up. What does that mean? I took biomechanics and I've dislocated multiple fingers before. All right, I gotta look this up before we go on. Sorry, now I'm distracted. Now I gotta know. Is David Chow looking? I'm not really. All right, Pro Football Doc. Let's see. Oh, well, he's talking about Stafford's finger. Said index finger is important to throwing, but this pip joint collateral ligament sprain should be a minimal issue. And I don't think the wrap changed. It's a Coben skin color. Top cover for the main tape job. Okay, that's for Stafford. I don't know what's going on with Russ. I don't know if that's a break, dislocation. Which, by the way, apparently nobody knew Stafford was hurt. Nobody knew Stafford was hurt, and then all of a sudden we said he was And then all of a sudden we said, hey, is he hurt? Because he looks like he's off. And everybody goes, oh, that's just who he is. And then they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, he's hurt. Man, oh, man. Man, oh, man. JFM just got an extension for New York. JFM. Who's JFM? You're going to make me look this up. Jets extension. Oh, John Franklin Myers. Got it. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I was thinking about this. I've been banging on the Jets pretty hard about their defense isn't very good. They have a couple of nice players on defense. It's just there's not nearly enough talent all over the place for those individual players to shine through. It's kind of a really bad spot for any defensive player to be. So, all right, let's finish up Buffalo KC. We'll watch this drive and then we'll go from there. So for this particular game, I think the Bills they're going to look to mitigate Mahomes as much as possible and invite the run. And here's the thing. I know they've played bad opponents, but I think this Bills defense is damn good. I mean, they've never let other offenses, even though they aren't good offenses, they've never even let them get into any type of rhythm, and no offense has looked good against them. So, the Bills are not going to play like the Eagles, who, again, allowed the Chiefs to get Tyreek Hill matched up on linebackers a couple of times, matched up on safeties a few times. And I think the Bills are probably going to take a page out of the Chargers playbook and say, sure, CEH, go ahead, run the ball. Like, you're not bad. But I prefer I prefer the ball in your hands than in Mahomes' hands. And so I think that's the way that they're going to go. They're going to back off. They're going to play that umbrella with their secondary, keep the ball in front of them, not let KC make any big plays. Run the ball if you want, and you're going to have to let CEH run the ball, because that's way better than Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill having the ball, right? So, Stafford looks like he's back now. I actually think this game comes down to the Buffalo offense, if I'm being honest. I think the defense will keep the Chiefs from running away with it, right? I don't think the Chiefs are going to drop 40 on the Bills by any means. Do they make it to 30? I think if they don't make it to 30, I think that's a win for the Bills defense. And obviously if they keep them to like 2021, that's a huge win for the Bills. So can this offense continue to score at the pace that they've been scoring for the Bills? Can Josh Allen and this run game maintain long enough? Can they take advantage of the opportunities? 27. Henderson's out. That was a nice move. Henderson's looked good, man. I mean, I know that he's had some solid blocking up front, but Henderson and his ability to see the hole and find it, get through it, and then take a little bit of traffic and a little bit of bumps here and there, and he's going to be like, he's good. It helps whenever you get blocks from Cooper Kupp like that too. If you want to run for 5 yards, have a good offensive line. If you want to run for touchdowns, big touchdowns, have wide receivers to block. Because that's the big thing. It's always a corner or a safety that ends up catching touchdown. There we go. This is the Rams I was expecting to see. If Stafford was hitting his passes all night, I feel like this is where we would have been 2 quarters ago. So, this makes sense. This feels like we're back where we should be. So I think the Buffalo KC game comes down to Buffalo's offense. Can they maintain? Can they take advantage of an unsound defense? It's a very, very tricky game to pick because we have to base everything off of who they've played. The problem is who they've played isn't. It's so far in opposite directions. It makes it really tough. So I might be totally wrong on this right now, but I'm leaning Bills to upset, not just cover, but to upset. But it's definitely one that I can also change my opinion on before Sunday. So we'll get there. And I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more work. I now have better access to all 22, which is fantastic. It's going to make my life much, much easier, so much faster to be able to do what I need to do and want to do for these games, which is going to make me feel much more confident and hopefully be able to pick better. So that's going to be fun. Is Gino or Russ the QB is the question. Russ is coming back in, it looked like. Okay. So yeah. All right. So that's all 16. All 16 games for the week 5 preview. I think we hit on everything big. Any questions you guys have? Gabe B. Eaton, appreciate you guys hanging out, throwing in all the questions. Loving it, as always. Rams scored. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like the Bills are a good football team that we're basically just waiting to see if they can, it's kind of like, it's not like Carolina or Denver where we're going, are they good? We're not asking, are the Bills good? We know the Bills are good. We're asking, are they one of the best? Like, we know that they've got an easy schedule, but are they able to dominate good opponents? Because that's where we're at with the Bills. They're going to be fine. They and Tampa Bay have one of the cakiest schedules I've ever seen for how elite are they, basically. Yes, exactly. It's not how good are they, how elite are they? Because we know that they're going to challenge for this particular for the AFC Championship. They're in that conversation easily. Do we think KC is losing twice at home? Yeah, I mean, KC's not bulletproof at this point, right? Like, they've already lost 2 games. Now they've lost them to good teams, but KC gets and I get it. It's hostile environment to play in. It's a huge advantage for KC. They don't have enough on defense to consistently stop other teams at this point. Basically, they win. They need Tyrann Mathieu to have a pick or two for them to have a chance. So, yeah, I mean, Buffalo, they're not okay. So let's look at it this way. Let's look at who their home games are. Buffalo, Giants, Packers. Packers have a shot. That one feels like it's going to be 500 points. That the line for that game might crack 60. So Bills, Giants, Packers, Raiders. Raiders aren't a pushover. That's a Sunday night game? Yeah, it's a Sunday night game. It's on NBC. Oh, no, sorry. Raiders are at Raiders. KC gets Dallas at home. That could be the one. KC can't stop Dallas. There's nothing about KC's defense that tells me they can't. Because Dallas can choose to throw or pass on KC. Now, how Dallas ends up defending KC, I don't know. But that could be fun. Then they get Denver. Of course, they get Raiders at home eventually. And then they get Pittsburgh at home. Then their last 2 games are away. Yeah, so I think they lose twice. I think between between Buffalo, Green Bay, Dallas, and Las Vegas. Those are 4 games that are losable at home. So even if they win 75% of them, that's still a loss. So yeah. All right, let's see how Russ does on this drive, and then we'll probably bounce. Spread out 3-by-1. Rams look like they're in man. If they're in man, they got a linebacker on Lockett. Oh, you got to see that, Russ. How did he get out of that? Oh, it's 3rd and 5, and I think Lockett. If I couldn't tell who it was, but it looked like because I saw it late, but it looked like Lockett was in the slot. Yeah, Metcalf was the one soloed up. Oh, they doubled him. Yep, never mind. The safety was over top of Lockett right there. He saw it was a good play by the safety because I don't think the safety was supposed to be where he was, but he saw the linebacker on the slot receiver. Oh, blocked. No way they end up. Oh, what a great. Can you do that? I don't know what the rule for that is. I don't. If he's allowed to do that, what a fantastic play. I just hope he wasn't past the line of scrimmage. Good job by 44. Oh, watch the Rams sideline just deflate. So what's the? I don't know what the rules are here on this. This is in a. What did they call? I don't know if you guys can hear this, but I got to hear this. I'm taking this off of mute. Oh, okay. All right. Interesting. So the kicker did something illegal, but doing something illegal was way better than what was about to happen. Okay. Fair enough. Good job by the kicker. Now, here's the thing. Punters in that situation, to us, that probably seems like an obscure rule, but a punter has to know what that rule is. If he doesn't, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. But that was super smart by him. So if it's at the 21, was it because he was past the line of scrimmage? Oh, he kicked it at the 21. Damn. I mean, that still is way, way better for the Seahawks to have to kick this. The Rams aren't making them kick this again? Yeah, now they're going to challenge if he crossed the line of scrimmage. Why are the Rams not taking this from? I don't understand what's going on. I need to go back and watch this play over again. But the thing is so even if he's, yeah, I mean, they should have re-kicked it. I don't know why they didn't, but there wasn't even a penalty on the end of it. So first of all, he's past the line of scrimmage, but the ball went down to the 8 or whatever it was, and then there wasn't 10 yards from there. So they didn't actually mark off the penalty from there. But based on the broadcast, it should have been 10 yards. Oh. So I noticed that was something I noticed last week. So there's been a few times where Stafford has thrown the ball to Cup before Cup was ready for it. Like, he's firing it out, and it's great to get rid of the ball, but he's getting it there early, and Cup has had to adjust to it a few times. So that was happening again there, which is interesting because it happened 2 or 3 times at least last game. Happened again tonight. Probably happened another time that I didn't see or pay attention to. I'm fascinated by this thing. So now everybody's shitting on Jamal Adams on Twitter. Last week he was the best thing ever. Now he's the worst thing ever. Man, weird. I need to understand what that rule is. I'm fascinated by it now. All right, let's see here. Oh, I thought that was going to be a flea flicker for something. The way Henderson stopped. All right, let's see. What do we got? Got desktop off, right? We know Adams isn't the best in coverage. He had a good player though. I think the problem with Adams is he's on a team that doesn't know how to use him. So think of it like this. Jamal Adams is a guy who can do a lot of different things. So it's kind of like having a multi-tool. You know, like those tools that has like a screwdriver, has like a wrench and a pair of pliers and a knife and like a scraper and you know, a lockpick and all these different things and an Allen wrench and all of that stuff. Like, it's like having one of those and then only ever using it as like a straw or something like that. Like, if you don't use it, why go trade for something like that if you're only going to use it as a screwdriver? You don't need all of that. Go get a screwdriver. It's going to cost you a lot less. But if you've got all of these weapons in this one thing, use them all, or else you're not getting full value out of it. So that's the problem I have with the Seahawks having Jamal Williams. I would love to see him in a Todd Bowles defense. I would love to see him in a Phil Snow defense. You know, somebody that's going to move him around and make him chase. Like, he would be amazing in Kansas City. Like, they're going to move him around and make him do different things and let him do different things and just absolutely terrorize terrorize an offense, or trade him away and get some picks. No, they traded for him and then they extended him. So first of all, in the business of football, that was a bad idea. You negotiate an extension while you're trading for someone. You don't trade for someone who's on the last year of their contract and you know that they want a big extension, because then you give up all your leverage. So, like, you basically know that that person knows that, hey, you just gave up a first round pick for me. Oh, you're going to pay me. Because if not, you just gave up a first round pick for a guy that played 10 games for you. So, like, negotiate as you're trading. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's just bad business for teams. So I don't know why they did it that way. It made no sense whatsoever. Then they get him and they're like, "Oh, this is fantastic." And then they have no idea what to do with him. There were some plays last year where they seemed to kind of get it. They moved him up on the line of scrimmage and they said, "Hey, like, you know, everything's fantastic. We're gonna let you blitz. We're gonna put you up in the A gaps and the B gaps, and you're gonna be able to come from all over the place, defend the run." And they did some good things with him, but they still weren't using him how he could have been used. So yeah, so I don't understand what they're doing. Again, it makes no sense as to why they did it the way that they did it, and terms of the business of football, and then the follow-up and execution after the trade has been bad too. So I again, no clue. I don't really get it. All right, let's see here. Man, Deshaun Jackson. One of my favorite things about Deshaun Jackson is his ability to locate the ball. Like in a position like that, he shouldn't have been. In a position like that, he shouldn't have been able to get a hand on that. But he's able to locate the ball and see around dudes and still be able to get it done. So good for him. And nice punt. All right, this is ball. This is gonna be ball game. I don't think with a hampered Russ Wilson, I don't think they're coming back. There's been way too much. Johnny Hecker hyping up the crowd. The punter hyping up the crowd. That's awesome. Man, everybody talked bad about the LA. Oh, Geno Smith. You're right, Gabe. Geno Smith's getting in the game. Oh, what am I doing? Sorry, I should have put the game tracker back on for you. Win probability 83.8% right now for the Rams. What do you guys want to see? Play by play, box score, game tracker? Kind of like the play by play actually. All right. Yeah, you don't want. Here's the thing. There's enough time that they don't have to go crazy with Geno. Yeah, see, they can, and the Rams are gonna play that. I'm gonna guess that Geno or that I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I'm gonna guess that Mr. Wilson's finger is broken. There you go. Get it out quick. Oh, that was actually a good read and a good throw by Geno. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I haven't even been paying attention to Jalen Ramsey and who he's been covering all night. It's hard to stream and watch football at the same time. Metcalf did get fouled. That's why they moved, right? Rams in cover 3. Yep, makes it easy to the inside. Oh, what a move, Metcalf. Damn. A dude that size should not be able to move like that. Yes, Geno was amazing in college. Problem is his accuracy wasn't good enough in the NFL. West Virginia had a good amount of plays where Geno was throwing to dudes that were wide open, and his accuracy wasn't necessarily tested. He didn't have to be that accurate, and he got away with it. Oh, sorry. Plus, he can run. All right, let's see. No, I don't want to see you talk about Russ Wilson. Extensor tendon injury to middle finger. Can still flex, so can still throw. Grip may change. Oof. Yep. Wilson's trying to get back in the game. He's like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. Perfect backup in Seattle. Yeah, I like that. I don't mind Geno. Again, I don't mind Geno. I especially don't mind Geno as a backup, but I don't mind Geno. And who knows? We haven't got to see him for a while, so depending on how far he's look at that. There you go. Move. So depending on how far he's progressed, he could do something with them. So we'll see. spread them out, throw the dump off. That was one of the other problems with Geno in the NFL is Geno after in New York and after New York, he did not want to throw the ball downfield. He was Mr. Dump Off, and it's in today's NFL you can't win like that. What is that? Is that like silly putty? Oh, it's foam on a tennis ball. Run off the left side. Yep. Yep. 3rd and 1. No reason to risk it. You're going for it on 4th down, so might as well run it right there. If you have Russ in the game, you might do a throw. You might try to get somebody deep on that 3rd and 1, but not there. Okay. Seattle being patient with it. I don't hate it simply because it's Geno, but I think at some point, and I'm curious if the Rams are going to end up or are going to continue to play soft against this and say, hey, you know what? If you want to run up the middle, run your draw plays, run your so see, they've only got 6 in the box right now. And they're not interested in guarding against the run. They are playing zone to see if Geno's there. Geno, good job. Sits in the pocket, calm. Let's Disley get back across the middle. Seahawks are hurt by not having Everett tonight. Good job, Geno. A little jumpy in the pocket, but calm. Oh, they're spreading it out. Okay. QB draw. Geno either changed protection. Geno changed protection. He didn't change play call. Oh my goodness. Geno Smith. DK Metcalf had the big game, just like we said. Boom. That was impressive. I think DK either had a little bit of a push off, or that was just a blown play by the defender there. Geno come back. Nah. Oh my God, the 31 just blew it. Oh my God. Just blew it. You got to find the ball earlier than that. Hey, is that the first made kick of the night? I feel like that might be the first one. That was a 99-yard drive. You're right, Gabe. No, like 98 maybe. But yeah, pretty much. Geno showed what he's got. That's impressive, man. Let me see. Man, it is already 10:45. All right, you know what? It's time to go. Unfortunately. This is gonna be an interesting game. I think the Rams are gonna be fine. The Rams have figured out what they can do on offense. We'll see if Seattle adjusts after the last couple of plays, but the Rams are moving it. But the Rams are moving it just fine. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right. Let me do this. All right, guys. So I'm gonna take who this. Guys, it's been a blast tonight. It's been a lot of fun doing a review show with you guys again. And sidecast. I think we're continuing to get better every single week. And like I said, this is one of those things where I started streaming and I was like, I'm not comfortable in front of a camera. this is kind of weird, putting myself out there. And now something that I was afraid of has become something that I look forward to every single week, and multiple times a week. So I appreciate you, Gabe, B. Eaton. You guys are awesome as always. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for sticking around, for hanging out, talking ball. I love this every single night that we do it. Reminder that on Sunday, we are going to be live at 9:15 a.m. So because we're going to be live at 9:15 a.m., this is going to be a pain, isn't it? We're going to be live at 9:15 a.m. because of the London game on Sunday. So just something to be aware of. Man, I got to get better at doing stuff and talking. But yeah, 9:15 a.m. on Sunday Eastern time. If you're on the West Coast, apologies, that is going to be so early. It's just the Falcons and Dolphins, or Falcons and Jets. So nothing to lose sleep over. But, if you want to flip us on and listen to me as you're waking up, having your morning coffee, that would be awesome. That would be excellent. I would really appreciate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop you guys over in. So one of the things about the Sports Accelerator program is we all are trying to support each other. So we're making sure that every time we get off, we always send a raid to somebody else. So right now I'm going to send you guys over to Ghost Hunter, who, if you guys don't know, really good guy. He streams fairly often, a lot of fun. He's a little more edgier than I am, I guess you could say. So I'm going to drop you guys over there. Again, thank you guys so much. Be Eden. Later, dude. Thanks again for tuning in. I can't thank you enough for spending your time here. You guys enjoy the rest of the game. Be good. I will see you all on Sunday. Looking forward to it.